The rogue groom appreciates your recommendation. Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Reverend Tell, you are absolutely right. Skyrim is not great for the reasons that Bethesda wants it to be. Skyrim is great for many other reasons. Let's be real with ourselves here. It is a fantastic, tremendously well put together game once you compound about 4,000 mods into it. Before that, it's very, very lackluster. We have to remember this game came out in 2011, but Dark Souls came out a month before Skyrim and is an infinitely better game on the basis of its gameplay. So, don't have any excuses there, Bethesda. I love it though. I will be completely honest with you folks. Skyrim has a place in my heart and that's never going away. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Welcome to the Rogue Bitch stream. I got my water in a glass tonight. Look at me. I'm being fancy. Thank you for the hydration, folks. Welcome in, everybody. I hope you are having a lovely day. I hope you're... it's budget contra points. I like that. Can we keep that as a thing? I mean, I am expecting my next video. Like I've been rewriting most of it. It's about 1,000+ words at the moment. The script, I'm aiming to get at least 4,000-ish words out of this idea, but I'm worried I won't hit that. I'm aiming to have this next video be very, very ContraPoints. I mean, the previous video essay did emulate a lot of her style, but I want to focus a little bit more on thematic pieces in the set dressing sort of thing, which is going to be tricky because I am very poor, but I'm finding like cheap things around that I can dress my setting area up with. Speaking of Skyrim, doing sneaky Imperial things like robbing from the poor. Let's face it, the Skyrim Imperial racial trait is explicitly based on the notion that the Imperials, their entire thing is capitalism. The Imperials are a capitalistic empire. Okay, and we need to seize the means of production in Tamriel. On the note of Tamriel, has anyone played Elder Scrolls Online? I've played a bit of it. What do you think of it? We trans be poor. It is true, quite frankly. I feel that we need... I'm already on the disability support pension here in Australia. Quite frankly, I believe, in my own personal opinion, that I should have some kind of a trans stimulus in addition to my disability stimulus. You know? the government should be paying for my surgeries and shit. You know, it's life-saving, life-changing shit there. I am being mildly facetious. I mean, there are elements of surgeries that I believe the surgery should be covered by Medicare. And it is, to a point. But as far as I've been able to read from the documentation that I have seen around regarding the subject, you're still up for about 30 grand after Medicare. They don't pay for surgery. I know, crazy, right? That they don't want to cover the medical costs of people that they see as not real people, as not members of society. That's wild that they do that. To hear more from Rogue, don't follow her on Twitter because that's a bad idea. I tweet constantly. I think I have an addiction. I am so perpetually on Twitter, it is painful. What's everyone been up to today? By the way, Lucy, hi. I see you there. That is you, isn't it? Glass tree. Australia was a civilized society. That's a laugh. I feel like Australia is one of the least civilized societies. We're allegedly a first world country, but we don't act like it. Oh god, no, that's gross. Oh. No, I apologize for that. Fuck. That's a bad remark to make. That in itself is inherently a racist remark. There we go. We can kick off that discussion before we get into Joanne. There's an idea that I hadn't thought about. Realistically speaking, we tend to refer to certain cultures that are not civilized in the way we are as the third world, as savage, as uncivilized, and all of that. And that's deeply entrenched in the privilege that we have been given as a society that has smartphones. I think there's a lot of elements of racism that people don't quite realize. I'd like to be able to elucidate these ideas more cleanly, more crisply. I know exactly what I want to say, and I know the ideas behind them, but it's so difficult for me sometimes to get these words out, so I try my best. But one thing that we often overlook as a society in general, this is actually relevant to something Kez alerted me to recently. I mean, it's been in the news, but there's a football club run by a man called Eddie Maguire here in Australia. Let's talk about this for a moment. Eddie Maguire, the president of Collingwood Football Club, I think, has recently been dealing with, I think the situation is, there's a bunch of racism in the football club itself. And I believe there was talk about racism among the players and racism among maybe fans and things like that. It's hard to say. I'm going to have to read the actual report or whatever. Hello, Emily Bowler. How you doing? Welcome in. But I've noticed there is, they often talk about, when they talk about racism, this is an interesting thing that I have gleaned from my observations, so take that with a grain of salt. Everything I talk about here is entirely based on observation and experience, and a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of education. But whenever racism is largely brought up, it tends to be people saying, this person said the naughty words to this person, or this group of people. This person said untoward things towards this group, sort of thing. But very seldom is the story focused on the systemic institution of racism that keeps those people over here, for example, the ones who are being treated in a racist manner, that keeps them unable to move up in the world. We don't see many stories about that specific thing. They don't like to talk about it. It does come up occasionally, especially when Black Lives Matter was going off back in June and all that. There was that whole situation where Elmo and his dad on Sesame Street actually addressed systemic racism, addressed the protests, which was really cool of Sesame Street, entirely unsurprising, of course, because that's what Sesame Street does best, is that progressivist ideology for children. We stan Sesame Street. Let's throw that out there right now. We stan. Convicts and political dissidents and anyone who didn't agree with the ruling class. If you're rich, it's kinda civilized. You mean Australia? Yeah. civilized according to what they consider civilized. Civilized according to what they consider to be the way that you should behave, you know. Hang on, so it grew, hang on, it wasn't founded by convicts. They brought convicts over from England.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Asian girl. Oh, I was waiting for the rest of the alert to play. Asian girl. X94, how you doing? Actually, yes, we can explain the Google search problem in a moment. Detroit, how you doing? Wanted to say hi. Well, hi, how you doing? Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. Yeah. I got a candle tonight. That's fun. I like candles. I might get some more. Yeah, we'll do the Google search thing. I'll put a pin in that. Let me see. I'm just going to put a note here.
The Rogue Room appreciates your recommendation.
Touted Hearts, thank you for the host. Talk to me on the Facebook group a lot. Yeah, I've been getting back into the Facebook groups a lot lately. It's good stuff. There's a lot of good people on the Facebook groups. I'm on a bunch of them, for the record. I'm on like 5 different Facebook groups. Anyway, as we were talking about, the colonization of Australia was much like the colonization of America. Hey, Bench! What's up? Get it up. How's it going? In the sense that, hang on, let's talk about... Because we did briefly talk about this on Australia Day, on Invasion Day. The first known landing in Australia by Europeans was in 1606 by Dutch navigator Willem Janszoon. There you go. But it was in not 1970. Australia's been around for more than 50 years. In 1770, it was James Cook charted the east coast of Australia for Great Britain. He returned to London with accounts favouring colonisation at Botany Bay. I'm just refreshing my memory. I know this stuff, but, you know, you tend to lose it. Maybe, I don't know why that is. I tend to lose important information. Hello, Midnight. How's it going? Radio broken. Enjoy that lurk. But I wanted to talk specifically about the convicts thing. Here we go. Convicts in colonial society. So, Australia was originally treated as a penal colony. Like there were a lot of people over here in brought over to Australia who were convicts. Between 1788 and 1868, approximately 161,700 convicts, of whom 25,000 were women, were transported to the Australian colonies of New South Wales, Van Diemen's Land, which we now call Tasmania, and Western Australia. Historian Lloyd Robson has estimated that perhaps 2/3 were thieves coming from working-class towns, particularly from the Midlands and north of England. The majority were repeat offenders. Whether the transportation managed to achieve its goal of reforming or not, some convicts were able to leave the prison system in Australia after 1801. They could gain tickets of leave for good behaviour and be assigned to work for free men for wages. A few went on to have successful lives as emancipists, having been pardoned at the end of their sentence. Female convicts, unshockingly, had fewer opportunities. What a surprise that is. So, Australia wasn't explicitly built on convicts, but I suppose after people served their sentences, they were able to integrate into society and help the founding of what we now know as Australia. But it wasn't particularly founded by convicts. Stronger than yesterday now is nothing but... Always remember, we're all stronger. Yes. Are you quoting lyrics in my chat? When did convicts and descendants of convicts become equal citizens? That's hard to say, honestly. I'm not even sure if... I'm not honestly even sure what my heritage as an Australian is. I do know my heritage is from... You didn't donate $1,000, you just /me donated 1,000 watt, by the way. Can I address this? I can see through your bullshit, friend. I've been streaming for 3 years. I know that this... Why are people doing this to me now? 1,000 breaths. Yeah, it's hard to say exactly. I mean, I don't... Oh, hydrate. Did I get a hydrate? I'll get a hydrate. Why not? It's hard to say exactly when... I don't even know if there would be information on this. All it really says here on, say, for example, Wikipedia. Again, just using this as a reference because I'm lazy. And just refreshing my memory on it. It's hard to say how many of the convicts went on to become, say, for example, upper class members of society. I dare say most of them wouldn't have. I dare say a lot of those families would have stayed Detroit. There you go.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Leash Kebab, welcome to the Rogue Room. How you doing? Get down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. You're allowed alcohol again in your country, so you're getting drunk. Nice. Nice. Let me see here. Some convicts, particularly Irish convicts, had been transported to Australia for political crimes or social rebellion, so authorities were consequently suspicious of the Irish. The Irish were treated in a very, very racist way back in the day. I think they still are, actually. I think there's still a lot of racism towards Irish folks in Great Britain. I remember reading a post by someone somewhere where they were saying in school, and like they were not older people, these are people that are like maybe my age or younger, they were learning about the geography of England, and they didn't even touch on Ireland. It was just a piece of landmass they just never even referenced. Hello, Turquoise, how you doing? Watched some documentary about some famous Australian and how people were treated like second-class citizens because of their parents' criminal history. Exactly. That's how it works in. Hang on a moment. Coffee is crucial to this kind of discussion. People are treated like that routinely in China, for example. If you were to commit, or Korea, there are certain countries in the world now where if you commit a crime and they can't, for example, get you, they will punish your family for it. Let me give you a little bit of a rundown here, Hunter Killer. Read through those for me, would you? Read through number 4 particularly. I'm not going to do what it says there, but consider this a warning. What else is there? Yeah, so Australia, originally a convict penal colony, but as it seems, people who served their sentences were able to go back if they committed to good behavior, of course. They were able to go back to living a life under the system where they could make a wage, I guess. I don't know if you can, I don't know. So yeah, the Irish thing, been transported to Australia for political crimes or social rebellion. So authorities were constantly suspicious of the Irish and restricted the practice of Catholicism in Australia. That's turned around quite a bit, honestly. You'll check back again, Radio Asian. Is it Asian? I've seen that AZN referred to as that. It's a pleasure to see you here. Have a good one. The EU that implemented Article 16, what was that? Treating Northern Ireland right now. UK Article 16. JBI, good day, how are you doing? You're here for the first time, come from middle year, it doesn't matter actually. Just want to ask what being autistic means by your opinion. You're struggling mentally since the middle of December. Well, autism spectrum disorder is a range of different things, quite honestly. We've been meaning to do an autism stream where I actually talk about the whole concept. There's so much in it. It's a social disorder that affects a number of different ways you interact with people. The way you interact in a social sense, largely, and it has a variety of certain behaviors that, while are not exclusive to autism, are typically associated with it. It's a very, very big, broad topic because there's so many different interpretations. Different diagnoses. There are people who are high-functioning autistic and low-functioning autistic. Yeah, but the perspective is, no. It's a complex condition with a wide range of traits, and no two autistic people will have the exact same range of traits, exactly. Xenophobia against the Irish is alive and well, but only in the UK. Irish Americans are not discriminated against as much as they'd like to shout about it. Your Irish should have been targeted by Brits multiple times, and that's not getting into how your grandparents were treated when they lived in Brighton. Yeah, it's kind of amazing to me how, like, the first thing I do, UK Article 16. What is Article 16? And why did the EU try and treat... Did you just link J.K. Rowling? We're going to talk about J.K. Rowling shortly, but not about that video specifically. We're going to talk about something else. Did you just link Contrapoint's video? It's such a good video, and it is well worth watching, just on its own merits. Yeah, we hear that bullshit question all the time, and I'm not answering it anymore. I'm done with it. By the way, so I opened this article, what is Article 16 and why did the EU try to trigger it? Ireland was definitely a victim of colonialist behavior. Like, there was outright genocide. Was it the Irish potato famine? That was, if I'm not mistaken, called the Irish potato famine, the Great Irish Famine. Famine that occurred in Ireland in 1845 to 49, when the potato crop failed in successive years, were caused by late blight, a disease that destroys both the leaves and edible roots or tubers of the potato plant. Okay, so I was wrong. I'm sure there was an Irish, there was the famine. I'm sure there was an Irish genocide though, which is not nice to think about. Irish mythology is just bloody, yeah, true. No, the Holodomor was not it. I'm sure there was something. I mean, there's a lot of bad shit that the UK has done to the Irish, and part of that was, of course, many Irish convicts sent here to Australia, where they were naturally, treated as convicts were, and I do not doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, a lot of those Irish convicts would have been sent here for things that the government decided this is a crime because we said so. Like the mythology about why no snakes in Ireland. Wait, there's no snakes in Ireland? Families escaped the famine and came to the UK from Ireland. You're aware of your history. You're aware the UK invented terrorism. Your family came from Dublin. Your great-grandfather died fighting for the Irish Republic Army. There you go. Being mean to the Scots and Irish, England. I know. Crazy that. There's no dragons in Wales either. That's absolutely loopy. I don't know how. I thought there were dragons everywhere, if we're honest. No snakes native to Ireland. There you go. That's interesting. Stormont. So this is interesting, right? I read this, and we'll get a hydrating as well. I think that person who was asking about the sports has left. Good. Stormont's First Minister Arlene Foster has branded the EU's attempt to trigger Article 16 of Britain's Northern Ireland Protocol an incredible act of hostility and aggression. But why? Article 16 is part of the Northern Ireland Protocol, an agreement between the European Union and UK concerning trading agreements in Northern Ireland after Brexit. The protocol is one of the biggest sticking points to the Brexit deal. Simply put, it is designed to ensure trade flows smoothly between Northern Ireland and the Republic. Between Northern Ireland and the Republic without the need for checkpoints or a hard border. Under the terms, Northern Ireland enjoys a special status. Despite being part of the UK, it remains inside the EU customs territory and single market for goods. Goods can flow in and out without the need for customs checks, tariffs, or paperwork. I can't read. Why did the EU trigger Article 16? The EU triggered Article 16 in response to an ongoing row over supplies of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. COVID. Earlier this week, the pharmaceutical firm announced that it would be only be able to deliver 25% of the 100M vaccine. Whatever. Vaccine doses ordered by the European Commission before the end of March. Brexit is racist? I know! What? A racist institution? Crazy, that. The EU wants supplied. I'm imagining that's supposed to say supplies to be sent from the UK factories to Europe to make up the shortfall, but AstraZeneca has rejected those claims. The European Council now wants to introduce measures to protect vaccines from going to countries outside of the Union, particularly the UK. The trigger of Article 16 was an attempt to ensure that Northern Ireland Protocol is not used as a backdoor to get around these restrictions. Why is invoking Article 16 so serious? Article 16 was supposed to represent a last resort. The agreement signed by the UK and the EU stated it would only be used when the protocol is in danger of leading to serious economic, societal, or environmental difficulties. You take care too, Turquoise. Have a good one. Get some rest. Excuse me. Oh, fuck. Okay, more water. Oh my goodness. So, it sounds like the UK is being a bit shit. This is the problem, is like, I think I can see what the problem is here, but I'm not quite, without reading the entire thing. Let's have a look. I need to clear my throat a bit. Alright. Literally everyone in England is so nice. That's why they have such good foreign policies. My lip gloss is like sticking my lips together and making it hard to speak. was sold on the idea of sovereignty and border control. Why do we want border control? Because immigrants bad. Brexit is not only racist, but it's also classist. Racism and classism, and some people don't like that I say this, go hand in hand. If something is classist, it's inherently racist, and vice versa. Racism is designed around the idea of instituting a caste system. You know, there are people who exist in a certain class, and typically it is their race that dictates that they are in that class. Other times, there are instances where the race does not affect their class, but generally speaking, class structure is built around racism in some way, shape, or form, and that's generational. You know, it moves on from, even if you are, for example, you know, you're in a white society like the West, and you are someone born from Irish descendant, for example, and you come up through generations and generations to the point where by the time you're an adult, you know, you could pass as just about any other white person, but there are still cultural institutions, there are still classist institutions that could keep you in your place in society. By the way, hi Miserabella, I did see you there. They've brainwashed the working class to vote for conservatives who do the exact opposite of helping poorer working class people. This is why I mentioned the other night, there is a big issue across the board, across Western society, across any society that has a conservatism party, so to speak, where they coerce the poor and destitute of the notion, like the American dream, for example. The idea of the American dream is that you work hard enough and you build yourself up, you pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and you too one day could be a millionaire with a lovely house in the countryside and white picket fences and 2 kids and a dog and a lovely wife and all of this bullshit that they sell you. And as a result, you know, they are a lot of these impoverished people who are coerced down that path. We need to, especially those people, we need to be as compassionate and empathic, whatever, as possible with them. We need to reach out to them and help them understand that the reasons that they are not moving up in the world, they will continually, these kinds of people are, like I said, brainwashed because they typically live in low income and low education areas. So it's harder for them to develop critical thinking skills, to look at the system that is keeping them where they are, and thus keeping them from being able to move out of those circumstances or rebel against those circumstances that have them in the situation they're in. It's very difficult to change these people's minds because it's all they've ever known, and the system that keeps them in the place they're in, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of commentators who will spread really vile rhetoric that coerces people into thinking it's not your fault that there are problems that you are experiencing that are keeping you poor and all of that. It's these other people over here. Thereby, you need to hate those people over there because they are the reason you need to vote for these policies that are going to get those people out of our country, those terrorists or those Jews or whatever rhetoric they're selling this week. They'll push the blame onto somebody else, and those poor people who are conservative will think, yeah, as soon as we vote for these policies, and as soon as they get the immigrants out of our countries and stealing all of our jobs and all of this kind of stuff, I'll be able to move up in the world. And it's really sad to see it. And whenever I see someone making fun of poor conservatives, whenever I see someone making fun of like a trailer park that has Confederate flags hanging up from it and Trump's panels and all that kind of nonsense, I feel sorry for them because they have...
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Oakland and Jedi, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us, friend. My voice is gone. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I feel sorry for them because, you know, they've been coerced into these ideologies that do not benefit them in any way, shape, or form. And nothing that they do, nothing that they vote for is going to change those circumstances unless they switch. Hydrate, fine. I swear I did. Okay, you want me to drink the hot bean water instead? Fine. And yeah, like I mentioned before, like you've mentioned, Dell, you live in one of the most educationally deprived towns in the UK. It goes conservative every election. Remember when Trump was trying to institute patriotic education in the US, right? The whole idea there is to deprive people of a true, proper education system. And the education system already, as it stands, leaves a lot to be desired. For example, public schooling systems are woefully inadequate, and private schooling systems, which are often informed by religion, tend to skew towards conservative viewpoints as well. So you got a double issue there. You've got people who are not being educated enough, and then being surrounded by... love the top. It's a dress, Rena. I like it. Let me show you. Yeah, you're right. It's training for 9 to 5 work life. Think about the way that kids get to school at 9 o'clock in the morning and they come home at 3 in the afternoon sort of thing. 5 days a week. Check out the dress. I've had this for a while. This is like, honestly, one of the first things I ever bought. As a girl, this is one of my first dresses. Very cute. I haven't worn it on stream, I don't think, because it's green. So, excuse me. There was the issue, of course, before where I was using chroma key, so I couldn't really, perhaps cool it with the hydrates. Oh, yeah, I might need a pee. Anyway, was there another hydrate? I don't see one. I can't see it anyway. I did put restrictions on it, so people can't use too many, and I think there's like a gap between them now. But anyway, as we were saying, hydrate was sold out. Good. If you've used too many, then I can't do them anymore. I can drink at my own pace. It's so counterintuitive. Your area is Labour, and you have a fantastic... I've had 4 already. Goodness. You have a fantastic MP. AP? What the hell? The places in North turning Tory is so heartbreaking. It's like they've forgotten Thatcher. That reminds me of that. What did Thatcher do? Hang on. You know what I love? Where is it? There's a website. Let's go to ismargaretthatcherdeadyet.co.uk. Yes, Margaret Thatcher is dead. This lady's not returning. What was she known for? Margaret Hilda Thatcher, Baroness Thatcher. Oh my god. Baroness. That title invokes villainy. I know she's a controversial figure. I don't actually know much about her. Shall we learn about Margaret Thatcher? The reason the UK vote Conservative is because the Labour Party hasn't offered a competent alternative. That's kind of the problem. And that's kind of why I'm hoping that things in Australia skew more left. I mean, everything I've seen of everything I've seen of the Labour Party here in Australia has been skewing fairly left, but it's still like left of centre sort of thing. Limes v lemons. What's your favourite, folks? What is your favourite citrus? We're not going to put oranges on there, sorry, or mandarins. This is what it's like in LA. We'll have a look at that. Sounds good. Destroyed unions, privatized everything, and fucked the poor massively. Well, that sounds familiar. Honestly, one of the topics I wanted to talk about was public housing. And the situation, like in Australia, we did used to have certain public housing, which in an ideal situation would be very, very cheap. You know, $200 a week for a reasonable living space. In a decent block, and like there was a good video by Gravel Institute that I wanted to show you guys. I want to ask you something. You think you tried to post to self-promote Discord? Said you didn't have permission. You have a friend who had a huge dental bill. Can you share her donation links with you? Yeah, you can. You can drop it in chat if you want. I am a broke bitch, so I can't afford a damn thing. I can't afford to donate to anything at the moment, I'm afraid. But huge dental bill she can't afford. There you go. Can I... hang on, yeah. There we are. If you guys have got a spare $1 or two, it would help your friend Ollie a huge amount. Help Rena's friend Ollie a huge amount. Let me think for a moment. Not in LA, you're in Sweden. Where was I going with this? Hold on a moment. Let me get my thoughts together. Controversial when the UK was threatened with terror, so she stood up and said, "We got more bombs than you." I see. Trying to give her the help you need. That's alright. Why you post about LA? I mean, I can understand. Worrying about situations that affect other places. What is going on in LA? But that does speak to the idea that we've shush you. We'll come back to you in a moment, alright? I just want to start the video. That does speak to that Isaac Butterfield video that I've mentioned in the past. How was your day? My day was good. How was your day? That does speak to the Isaac Butterfield video I mentioned, in a sense. I mean, this is a bit more... this is a bit more of a universal issue, I think. Anything COVID related is going to be more universal. People are going to be affected by it in a number of ways. But coming back around to the racism thing for a moment. Mousy, how's it going? What's happening? How's it hanging? Coming back to the racism thing, I've mentioned this a few times before, but like Isaac Butterfield put out a video talking about why white racism is real and dangerous. And he specifically went out of his way to find instances of racism that targeted white people over in South Africa, and he never addresses the racism that happens in Australia every single day. He never talks about the fact that there's a bunch of racism happening in Australia. He doesn't care about the institutional racism here. He only cares about it if there's prejudice against white people in another country. It's such a dumb argument to make. Because it proves they don't actually care about racism. They care about the white race specifically. This has been a chat. The issue, of course, is that I feel like I've got a lot to say about this particular topic, specifically institutional racism and classism and all of that. But structuring these thoughts out, it's very difficult. And I worry that, you know, the end result... Again, I would like to put more stream highlight videos of the topics we talk about on the YouTube channel. But I worry that I can't get my thoughts out in a cohesive manner. I'm having a lot of self-doubt lately about that sort of stuff. I meant to take some notes down. I wasn't intending on talking about... XO Vess, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. Howdy, Agent Rodman, how you doing? I did mean to start taking down notes today, and I mean, like, when I say notes, I mean, like, let's start with a topic, and then I'll write down, say, 10, 12, maybe 20 different notes that we can go from piece to piece to piece to piece to keep me on track, because I think I am getting too easily distracted and getting off track too easily, and it becomes difficult for me to come back to where we were talking. So I've noticed this issue when it comes to creating the highlight videos for the YouTube channel, which I would like to do more of, but I'm sort of easing off for the past couple of days so that I can focus more and figure that out. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to try to do moving forward, is like jot down every point that I want to talk about.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
At length. Yarrow Flower, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. I'm so glad that alert is not as long as it was before. By the way, is this scented? Racism is bad, basically. But yeah, one of the big things that I've noticed. We're drinking coffee. I don't have any wine. There's the full rule set. I need to trim that a bit. I made it way too long. You have that mug? It's so good, isn't it? Drinking Gatorade, fantastic. This is my mug. I've had this for years. It has a lot of sentimental value to me. Here's a fun fact. On the bottom, I can't read it because the light's too dim. It says, "This is not a weapon." I'm a pacifist, by the way, drinking out of a mug that has knuckle dusters on the handle. Oh, it could be. You could hurt someone with this shit. You could absolutely fucking ruin someone's day with that. Like that Bill Wirtz video. America decides whether racism is bad. They decide it's bad. Me, are you sure? Again, this is the issue with this is the issue with people not understanding what institutional racism is, with understanding what systemic racism is, right? So many people think racism is pointing at a person of color and calling them a slur, right? And that's or committing hate crimes against people. Like, these are obviously racist things. But there are so many people, so many people that believe you're only a racist if you are an outward racist. Like, absolutely devoting yourself to hating people of another race. The topic is racism. The topic is systemic racism at the moment. And by the way, yeah, jump in the Discord if you're interested in the discourse. We don't really do a lot of the discourse in the Discord. I kind of got rid of my important topics place because it got too... it got too heated in there, and I wasn't keen on moderating an argumentative zone. If I do bring back my serious discussion category in the Discord, it will be very, very strict. Difference between indirect and direct prejudice. You're absolutely right, Drew. So indirect prejudice is the things that keep people from moving up and moving out of the circumstances that are intrinsically designed to keep them where they... We watched, I've forgotten his name, something subtext, that bread tuber. we watched his video about why the poor stay poor, right?
Another round on you.
Yeah, well, thank you so kindly for the 10 bits. I'm female. Yeah, I don't know how to thank people for bits, but thank you so kindly for the 10 bits. So yeah, one of the big issues about the systemic racism thing is that, like I mentioned before, people will say you're only a racist if you're flying a Confederate flag and saying that people of color need to be deported from the country or strung up from trees and things like that. There are certain people who think the only form of racism is the KKK, right? And even now we are seeing movements that are very similar to the KKK, like the thing we mentioned the other day about what happened in Western Victoria, I believe it was. And that was a blatant white supremacist movement, and even then, there was a blatant white supremacist movement, these blokes carrying around Nazi flags and making Hitler salutes and all of this kind of stuff. And there were still people in, say, the comments section. Finding subtext, that's him, Leash. Yes, we watched his video, Why the Poor Stay Poor, or whatever it was. It was such a good video. He's really good. He needs more subscribers. He's a good YouTuber. And, yeah, what was I saying? There were people in the comment sections on numerous different news article Facebook pages. Of course, it's Facebook. It's full of dumb people who were saying, they were talking about what about the left? What about leftists and all this other shit, right? It was like, dude, we're literally dealing with people who are actual white supremacist Nazis, flying Nazi flags and doing the Hitler salute and saying Hail Hitler and all of this stuff. And people are still trying to argue that it's like there's some kind of discussion here or debate around, are they actually racist? That it's like, you can have the most extreme, most obvious racist viewpoints possible and people will still think that's not actually racist though. They just care about the white race. And of course, what we look at with regards to what racism really is, it's much more deeply embedded in all of the systems we take for granted. Say for example, like I don't think in the area I live, I don't think I've seen a single Aboriginal person, despite the fact that there are imagine getting banned in 2021. Nice. Despite the fact that, you know, there are places near me where it's like this suburb is built on Aboriginal land. We pay tribute to the people of this who originally owned this land. It's like, where are they? Where are the Aboriginal people that lived on this land originally? I genuinely have. I don't think I've seen a single Aboriginal person in my surrounding area. I've seen Asian people, I've seen Indian people, and I've seen multiple people of different races and cultures.
Thank you for your membership.
Yarrow.
Please enjoy all the delights of the subscriber lounge.
Please join us in the subscriber lounge. Sit down, grab yourself some Moscato or a piece of fruit or a Nintendo Switch. Maybe I'll put a Nintendo Switch on the table. How about I do that? I have a Nintendo Switch. I've never streamed a Nintendo game. Can I say that? I've never streamed a Nintendo game. Maybe I need to do that at some point. I was going to, like, for the past few, almost, at least a year now, Tuesday has been co-op nights with Calgar and friends. But the past couple of weeks I've been really getting heavily invested in the growth of my channel. So usually, you know, Tuesday night would be gaming, but I'm finding this format works so well for my stream that I'd rather stick with it as a consistent thing. Zuji.
Another round.
And 100 bits, my goodness, you spoil me, thank you so kindly. 8-bit lounge. Well, I think it'd be 16-bit technically, because there's more of a color variety. I'm pretty sure 8-bit was defined by its very limited color palette, and 16-bit was a step up from that. Let's have a look, actually. There's a topic. What's the difference between peanut butter and jam? Gee, I wonder. What's the difference between 8-bit and 16-bit? Is the amount of tones available for a given color. Here we go. 16 colors versus 256. Yeah, there's a huge difference. You're gonna head out. It's almost 3 a.m. radio. Get it up. Have a good one. I think also in the shift from 8-bit to 16-bit graphics, there was also a lot more moving parts when it came to games. We saw a lot of games in the 8-bit era which were really static. You would go into a certain screen and nothing would be moving, or like there would be like maybe a couple of little animated bits. But as you moved into the 16-bit area, in 16-bit era of games, there were multiple elements to, like, say, side scrollers. You would have unique parallax backdrops, and animations would be more complicated and all that. The development of, we are talking specifically video games in this context. The development of video game graphical styles over the years has been fascinating to follow, honestly. As someone who started with PlayStation 1, so I didn't even really get into super pixelated graphic games until later in life, when I would go back and play classic games through emulation and such. And which I suppose is why I value the graphical style of PlayStation 1 so much. That polygonal, pixelated textures, things look a little bit clunkier. There was a lot more graphical glitches on the PS1, which just added to the charm, honestly. Hey Ty, how you doing? First console was a PS2. PS2 was good. PS2 had some fucking amazing games. Should we come back to the racism thing? Should we continue with the racism discourse? I forget where we were. I've lost my train of thought. Again, I need to start taking notes. You did spell it correctly. Yes, you did. Which is interesting. Are there any different spellings of Abigail? I think there is, like, Abigale, maybe. I find it funny that I've definitely picked one of the names, it seems like. There are certain names that seems like a lot of trans women pick them, or trans men pick a certain group of names, and there's, like, at the very least, Abigail and Mia are two of the names I've noticed that trans folks tend to have, trans women tend to have. Trans men, I'm not sure. Abigail, there we go. There's no charm in playing Destruction Derby on PS1 as a blurry mess. Emma? I think Emma's one of them. I want to say Rose. COVID has hit the poorer communities a lot, because that's by design. Abigail, there you go. Philosophy Tube's Abigail. I love her. Abigail Thorne. I was referencing Abigail Thorne.
The Rogue Room
the
appreciates
Hi, thank
your
you for the host.
recommendation.
I was referencing Abigail Thorne the other night, and I called her Abigail Shapiro. And I think some people were perhaps confused, thinking, wait, Abigail Shapiro transitioned? Can you imagine? I've seen a few trans roses, yeah. Mostly on Twitter. That's where I get all of my social experience from. Twitter is a great microcosm of society, obviously. It's semi-common, I think. Yeah, can you imagine the possible outrage, I guess, if Abigail or Ben Shapiro transitioned? Yarrow, which is also a flower. It's a very pretty name. She is or was an opera singer, but I think the fact that she has a YouTube channel that's, like, doing okay, I guess. She hasn't, it seems clear to me she hasn't really made it in the singing side of things. Yeah, she's a right-wing commentator. Kai, Elliot, and Oliver. Yeah, that sounds about right. Still dying inside from the hypnosis mention. Hypnosis mention? You're trash too. I think we're all trash here. This is a trash zone. So COVID has hit the poorer communities a lot. Should we talk about this? Should we talk about the COVID response in America? Was it yesterday? It might have been yesterday. The thing that made you say, what was that? Oh yeah, the sissy hypnosis. Sound alerts are offline. Oh yeah, it's broken. I haven't bothered to fix it. I got to disable that extension, honestly. I might do that now. I thought I actually turned it completely off because the it wasn't working. I tried my damnedest to get sound alerts to work and it just didn't. I don't know why it's still attached. I thought I removed it completely from my extensions. Yeah, it's not in there. Oh, there it is. Deactivate that. There's a bunch in here that I haven't got activated. Set as component 1. I've turned CC on. Tell me how that goes. Kai, Aiden, Ash. Here we go. Let's talk about the COVID thing for a second. Let's talk about how the COVID response in America is kind of. It's hard to say, but what was the situation when COVID started ramping up? They said that they could shut it down within a couple of months. I am Australian, yes. How you doing, Fingerbash? What was their original... They were saying when COVID came to America and all of that, they were saying they could defeat it in like a few months, you know, by about April. And the absolute failing of their response to COVID, the refusing to offer help to certain, like offering, say, medical supplies, funding for medical supplies to certain parts of the country. Yeah, Trump said it was just going to go away. And Trump spreading misinformation around it. It's like, this is a country of, what, nearly 400 million people? And he thought it was this is why Donald Trump was a terrible president. First and foremost, is Trump led to that. Alright, let's watch this video. Let's discuss this video. And then I want to talk about Joanne. Trump hosting super spreader events, like the whole thing with the COVID response in America, the COVID response in New Zealand, the COVID response in Australia. The UK's had a bad response as well. But in Australia and New Zealand and in other countries in the world, the COVID response has been tremendous. We've gotten the numbers down significantly here in Australia with only a few pockets of failings and increased lockdowns, like Victoria is pretty bad. New Zealand wiped it out and only recently had a tiny uptick in cases. I look beautiful today. Thank you, Nick. Trump didn't fumble the ball in this. He grabbed it and popped it with a fucking ice pick. And, yeah, the situation was that they could have, and Dr. Fauci, is it Fauci? I think it's Fauci, said you could have stopped it early if they had listened to his advice and actually, you know, got everyone wearing masks and got everyone staying in. They could have shut it down. But Trump pushed every single lie that he possibly could. And quite frankly, this was a genocidal move on his part. Do we have statistics on the economic status of the majority of people who have died from COVID? That would be very telling. If we had the economic statistics, who are the victims of COVID? And I dare say this video you've mentioned will give us some insight into that. Response on Turf Island is blatantly an attempt to kill off as many as possible. They crowed about saving 600 million pounds because old people were dying. That's the thing too. They treated a pandemic like a population control situation. Okay, let's watch this video. Let's turn my music off for a sec.
It has been a week. And by a week, I mean a month. And by a month, I mean...
Mortuaries are also feeling the enormous stress as more and more people die from the virus.
We are working
we get a bunch of trolls here.
Battlefield.
Waiting weeks
we know they're
to bury
piss weak
their
nobodies.
loved ones.
Who don't get any attention in their real lives, so fuck them.
You may know me as YouTube's premier peddler of death education, but I also own a small funeral home in Los Angeles, California.
You know, can I just firstly state, I love her style. She's stunning. And death education. I mean,
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Dragon Blue Goth. Welcome to the Rogue Room. I'm still getting used to the new alert. I was waiting for the rest of it again. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us as we learn about why our funeral home is overwhelmed with bodies.
Room.
And Drew Beans. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and continue to chill out with us.
For the last year, I've been getting questions like, is COVID overwhelming your funeral home, Caitlin? Bodies
and
piling up,
official.
refrigerated trucks, 24-hour...
Again, sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. I'm getting that into my head now. It's the, Dragon Blue Goth's a good name. Dropping by to say your awesome, great opinions, just aesthetics on point. Thank you so kindly. Looking forward to hanging here more. Stay amazing. You stay amazing too. I will try to have the best stream ever.
Cremations? No, was the answer.
It's hard to stay hopeful when the deaths just keep climbing.
Was the answer? It took 10 months for LA to reach 400,000
You are now
COVID
one
cases.
of us.
Oh my god,
So
yeah.
yes, we had COVID deaths at my funeral home, but we weren't overwhelmed. But then came winter. Families traveling for Thanksgiving, disjointed government policy, weariness, and a desire for this just to be over. And boom, in December alone, 400,000 cases in LA. Humanitarian disaster. I cannot emphasize that strongly enough. It's like nothing I have ever seen. You may be thinking, LA is America.
This is the problem, right? Is like I kind of know these bits and pieces about the COVID thing. I really wish I had been paying attention to the news properly this entire time. I've only seen like flashes of info, headlines. I've never this is the problem. And I'm going to try to work on this moving forward. I'm going to try to actually pay attention to the news so I can talk about it at length. Yeah, I have this problem of I know bits and pieces, but I don't know enough. I know it's bad. Totally just another flu, guys. I mean, the flu is bad enough. We should have already been wearing masks because the flu is bad enough. If you, for example, get the flu vaccine every flu season, because it's not for you, it's for the other people around you. You can kill your grandparents by giving them the flu, for example. So beautiful, and you've lurked and love your style. Thank you, Dragon. Thank you so much.
Second biggest city. If it's really all that bad, we should be hearing all the celebs dying from COVID, right? That is a fundamental misunderstanding about Los Angeles. If your vision of LA is TikTok houses and paparazzi, that is not the LA I live in or the LA my funeral home serves. There are vast stretches of Los Angeles that are primarily home to Latino and Black people. Those communities are filled with frontline workers who live in densely situated, multi-generational homes, many of which are low income.
Institutional racism. This is a genocidal move by a fascistic government, or an attempted fascistic government.
Can't not work or work from home, and they can't just live somewhere else. These are the people who are filling our funeral homes. To put a human face on this, there was a bus driver living in South LA who migrated from El Salvador.
Okay, let's talk about this for a second, Max. LA is a little shithole. Why would anyone want to live there? They don't have a choice. Let's put this out there right now. They don't have a choice. They were born there, they were raised there, and circumstances keep them there. They can't move. They don't have the capacity to do so. They don't have the capacity to save up their income and pack everything up into a moving truck and move to a quieter suburb that's further away from lots of people. They're stuck. These people are literally stuck. And this is, again, this comes back to the systemic racism thing. It's what's keeping them locked in horrible circumstances, and that's entirely by design. The places in which they live, the work that is available to them doesn't pay them anywhere nearly enough to have a livable wage. Places like LA are typically, we've talked several times about the kinds of people who are working 80 hours a week across multiple jobs just to have a stable, livable income. And even then, it's just a slightly above the poverty line kind of income. There's a lot of people in these major cities, in LA and in Australia as well, where there are people who are just, they're stuck and cannot move. There's no way for them to migrate anywhere else. So they have to make do with what they've got. And, the only people who are actively choosing to move to LA are, like you've said, Drew, privileged people who've got a ton of money and have the capacity to get there and live in a nicer house than people who are living in suburbs and projects and things like that, and tenement housing and all these kinds of things. It's bigger, so it magnifies the issue. Why is LA worse than any large American city? Yeah, it's just bigger. Anyway, back to this.
He lived with his mother and children. The family doesn't know how COVID infected their home, but the whole family has it. COVID has put him on the brink of death, and he doesn't have health care. Calling an ambulance would just mean driving around in circles. They have nowhere to go, no hospital to take him to. You hear the sirens all night long. So he dies at home.
There we go. Pronouns.
A police officer
You've
has
already
to
got
come
the
sit with
extension.
the body until a
Sorry.
funeral home picks him up, but no funeral home has room. This is not a home funeral, by the way. The magic of a body in a living room, the family making an informed choice to care for their own dead. There's no magic when you have no idea if you are going to be able to get anyone, no matter how much you pay them, to pick up this body. So, how did this happen? We know how this happened, but the question that I think about all day, every day, is where is the government?
What is that amazing thing on her finger? So yeah, I'm she, her pronouns, for the record. There's just this giant square jewel thing. What is that? That cannot be comfortable.
This has been going on for almost a year. This didn't catch you by surprise. What are you guys doing, huh? The fact that the government feels no need to step in at all is so frustrating, especially since they killed a lot of these people. With their arbitrary policies, their lack of health care, their lack of financial help for the unemployed, and then you do absolutely nothing to help them or their families once they die. You don't provide any money to get them cremated or buried. You don't even provide refrigerated storage for their bodies. So they're...
Can I make the point of how fucked up it is that we even have a system where you can get you can start to pay off your funeral before you die? We have that here in Australia. It's like, you're meaning to tell me I need to start making down payments now so that I have the opportunity for my family to be able to bury me when I'm dead? That's fucking broken as a system.
You are
oh
now
my goodness,
one of
another
us.
gifted sub. Thank you, Yarrow. Just want to stop by before bed since it's almost 5 a.m. Get some sleep, for goodness sake, Max. Have a good one. Especially when you consider the mantra greatest country in the world, exactly.
Families at least know they're somewhere safe. Things like refrigerated trucks, communal burials, mobile crematoriums, those aren't the enemy. Those are the solutions. My issue is we don't have any of those. They sent the National Guard in to help at the coroner's office, which is good. The coroner is also wildly, hopelessly overwhelmed with bodies. But that's a little help for one link in a very long chain. So who's left responsible for all of these bodies?
The gift sub is basically like, it's the same as subscribing regularly, but somebody else has paid for it, obviously. And if you decide you wanted to subscribe, but while you've already got a gift sub, you can gift a sub onwards to somebody else. What subscribing gets you is ad-free viewing on the channel you're subscribed to and a bunch of emotes. And I think that's it. I've got 5 emotes on my channel and I want to redo them. I wouldn't mind hitting up an emote artist, but I don't have the money.
Funeral homes. It's a mass casualty disaster, and the government is like, small-time capitalism will handle this best. No, it won't. No one thinks that. Funeral directors don't even think that. This is a ragtag crew of funeral homes, of extremely small private businesses with no centralized coordinating ability. The government has the idea, I think, that the private market will step in here, and the funeral homes that can figure it out by paying the money to bring in their own large cold storage trucks will rise to the top and get the business. 1, we don't have time to wait for that, and 2, that doesn't help the families at all. When you are frantically calling anyone to help you with your dead, large corporate funeral homes may be the only ones who have the capacity to pick up your family member. And then the second that they pick them up, you are on the hook for a bare minimum $4,000 cremation. If you need a burial for religious or personal reasons, that's a year's salary. I hate the idea of private businesses and donors stepping in where the government should be, especially in a mass disaster situation. But frankly, Amazon would be handling this better. At least they have trucks and workers. Mackenzie Bezos, hey, what's up? Bill Gates, help, help. Elon Musk, you wanted to build a submarine for those Thai cave divers. What you up to? I am not an expert on natural disasters and mass death, that should go without saying, but here's what I think should be happening. There should be one phone number. If a death has occurred from COVID or suspected COVID, the family can call the number and it goes to a central command, an abandoned WeWork or something with tumbleweeds rolling through the background. To start, it's staffed by about 30 people. FEMA, or Federal Emergency Management, California National Guard, and death care experts, drivers, phone operators. The phone operator takes all the information from the family. A driver picks up the body and brings it to a well-managed location that is clean, bright, cold, well-labeled, so the family knows their dead are safe. The death certificate is fast-tracked through the county, and the family is told, "We are so sorry this is happening. We will handle the practical and financial logistics of this cremation or burial." This should have been the plan since the beginning of the pandemic. If the right person was given the power and, I don't know, $1 million, $500,000, this...
Hang on, what did I miss? If the private market were going to intervene, they'd have intervened some elsewhere before. The ones that can afford to help don't care. Yeah, exactly. This whole situation is a deep reflection of a lot of the systemic issues of such an obscenely capitalistic model that America runs on. They don't care about anything other than profit, and that's exactly why there was such a push to like reopen the economy and all of this kind of garbage, where, you know, the big super spreader events at Trump rallies and all this kind of thing. They absolutely have such a detestation for anyone who is affected by this, which is largely poor people, poor and old people who do not have a lot of money. And because they don't have a lot of money, thus they can't milk them for it, they're not going to offer them the opportunity to help. And I mean, I'm not exactly Biden's biggest fan, but fingers crossed this kind of situation can be addressed moving forward now that Trump is out of the office. But he absolutely facilitated this kind of thing. He pushed for this to happen. He wanted this to happen. You can't deny it at this point.
This could be up and running in several days. This sounds like I don't like the government. No, I love big government that supports and cares for all its citizens, especially its more vulnerable. I don't know how much more vulnerable you get than overflowing freezer trucks full of low-income corpses from LA's least supported neighborhoods. And I get it. The pandemic has stolen a year of our lives. You're sick and tired of it. Me too. Not being able to engage in simple social pleasures can feel intolerable and unfair, but some of us seem to have lost the plot. Maybe you've been getting mixed messages on that, so let me make them not so mixed. You have to wear a mask. This is non-negotiable in LA. You can't go visit your family, and you cannot hang out with your friends. This is not about politics or personal liberty. This is about mass death. Maybe you are someone who has been getting the message that this is overblown or not real. But the corpses don't lie. The sheer, staggering amount of corpses don't lie.
It's astounding that she'll say all of this with as much passion as she possibly can from the very heart. You can tell she's speaking entirely from the heart here. And people will still respond saying it's a hoax or saying it's overblown or all of these things. Without doing any of the legitimate research themselves, mind you, without taking any of the advice of professionals and scientists that have given them the breakdown. It's astounding the level of cognitive dissonance it takes for people to completely avoid and ignore a crisis like a pandemic. They don't want to. This comes back to our status quo thing. It's like they don't want to break their normal in favor of they saw a meme on Facebook. That's all the research they need, exactly. These people don't want to break their norm away. They don't want to have to wear a mask. They want to say, oh, I've got a medical condition. It's like, no, you don't. First of all, there is no medical condition. There is no such medical condition that would mean you are not allowed to wear a mask. You can wear a mask. Get over yourself. It's not for you, it's for everyone else.
We're not running cremations all day and night for our health. In fact, it's bad for our health. If you are just now convinced by the reality of this situation, how bad it really is, I want you to know there is dignity, grace, and humanity in changing your mind. I don't have an easy wrap-up for this because we are still in the middle of it. And I know that you are loving and you are kind and you want to offer support to me and my funeral home, but please don't call us or just show up. That ties up the phone lines and takes away our attention and energy from where it needs to be. Everyone on my team, funeral directors, people at the coroners, doctors, nurses, the health department, everyone is working.
Just got your top done, your top surgery? Oh my goodness. That's incredible. Congratulations, Liddy. How are you doing, by the way? I imagine you're overjoyed.
So hard. But
I'm happy
none of
to hear
us are
that.
disaster relief experts. Where are those people? It's like that scene in a disaster movie when the plane flies over and it doesn't see you, and for the first time you go, oh shit, no one is coming. If you really want to help and you live in LA, call your council member, your mayor, your representative, and express your displeasure with how this is being handled. I know contacting your representatives doesn't always feel satisfying or impactful, but the only way the families are going to get the aid they so desperately need is if the government steps up. Like now, help now, not 10 months from now. Stay safe. I cannot wait to get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Thank you for listening.
Oh no, one day
State
later.
Health officials have lifted the stay-at-home orders for all regions.
All regions effective immediately are no longer in the
You are now
stay-at-home
one
order.
of us.
Well, shit. Oh my goodness gracious me. Keep Liddy has now got a gift sub. Enjoy. Yeah, super big congrats on the top surgery. I'm envious. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Excuse me. Okay, so that kind of addressed, it kind of brought some harsh realities to us about the situation in LA, specifically LA being one of the biggest COVID hotspots, primarily because it's got such a huge percentage of the American population. Like, I think we did this before. Percentage of US population in LA. Well, that doesn't help me. Hang on. Population of Los Angeles, 12 million. Population of California, I believe, is 40 million. 39.78. And if we look at the USA COVID hotspots, US COVID hotspots, in the, where is it? Where is a map? Give me a map, dude. I think this is a map. Here we go. This tells us where the most cases are in America, for example. There's an idea. New York, Hamilton County, Mojave County, Arizona. This is per capita, I think. But yeah, where we can hope that, and look at Texas. Goodness me, is Texas a red state? Texas is a red state, isn't it? American hotspots. You use the fill tool. Oh, you love the stream, Liddy. I love you being here. Thank you. Hang on. Yeah, what was I? Cries in Ohio. And where's Ohio? I don't know America's geography. There's Oregon, Oklahoma. Oh, I see Ohio. I mean, it looks pretty bad. It doesn't look as bad as anywhere. I mean, there are a few places like, for example, North Dakota looks pretty good. Towards the top on the right. Yeah, I see it now. What about Australia? What's the Australian Australia COVID hotspots at the moment?
Thank you for your membership.
Drew Beans!
Please,
oh my god, we got
enjoy
tons of
all
subs
the
tonight.
delights
Thank you so
of the
much, guys.
Subscriber Lounge.
Please enjoy the subscriber lounge. I haven't brought us back to the subscriber lounge for a bit. I need to do something better for my subscribers. You guys support me, and it's so good. Thank you. I need to do something better than this stupid pixel art lounge thing that's just dumb. We are lucky. We haven't had it too bad. But what about? Let me think. COVID deaths in Australia. Blame New South Wales. Why blame New South Wales? What's our total death count? Is 909 death count in Australia. Total cases 28,818. Recovered 25,486. Total cases, this is what fucking disturbs me like crazy, man. Total cases worldwide 103 million. Do you know how many people died from the Spanish flu? Like 50 million people died from the Spanish flu. So we've had 2.24 million deaths from COVID. Spanish flu deaths, which is often, this just says 50 million. Like that's not a
Welcome to
it's
the
not a solid.
road.
That's just like a rounded off number. Why are you being rude? Don't be rude to my guests. Apollo 8192. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink and chill. It's too simple of a comparison. Yeah, that's true. There's more people in the world as well, and medical capacities back then were a bit different than they are now. But of course, you know, we have the situation where we've had the capacity, and now we're getting vaccines for this. You can go in the corner. Yeah, like we're only just now getting vaccines being distributed, and some of them are like, I think, is it one of them is 90% effective, and one of them is 80% effective or 70% effective or something like that. I can't recall what the exact numbers were for the vaccines. There's 2 different vaccines. I think they were being facetious. Well, given Keep Liddy's responses, yeah, that's like, I imagine you weren't happy with that. I can see that. So, our active cases are very low. Yes, that's true. Actually, so upsetting that those people exist. They're going to be everywhere. I commented, and I want to get into this topic tonight. We're going to jump into some discussion around J.K. Rowling shortly, because that's always a fun topic. I commented on a post on Twitter about IGN's latest article about Harry Potter and how the fans are struggling with it. And we're going to read it in a moment. Ow, I just pulled on my headphones. It's not so much what J.K. Rowling did as much as it is the fans who are struggling with, it's like, do we like Harry Potter but detest J.K. Rowling? How do we separate art from artist and all that sort of thing? I'm playing Hitman 3. I hope you've been having a good time of it. But anyway, too simple of a comparison. There's more people in the world, yeah. It's a very tricky thing to do because, yeah, there's a lot more people now, but, I mean, by contrast, 50 million deaths of the Spanish flu back then when was it? 1918.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
World Pop. Welcome to the Rogue Room X Game of 550. How you doing? Welcome. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. World population by year.
You
Just
are
give
now
me the
one
number.
of us.
Oh my goodness, Yarrow, another gift sub to non-binary superpowers. Thank you so kindly. See, the news about that Italian chef who got shot the other day. He passed away this morning. You stop that. That's... no. What was the world pop in... around... just over 2 million, I think. 2 billion, not 2 million. Around about 2 billion in 1918-ish. And 50 million, but now world population is fucking huge. Projected to be around about 12 billion by 2050 on that note. 7.8 billion in 2020, and we've only had 2.24 million deaths by comparison to the Spanish flu in 1918, which was 50 million deaths. Because there seems to be a trend towards comparing the two. I think the Spanish flu was the last big pandemic we actually had. Oh no, there was the avian flu. God, like the bullshit that Trump has been spewing has bled into my head, and now I'm calling. Fucking Christ, dude! I give up. I quit. I can't handle this bullshit anymore. All right, shall we? Just forget who you were here then. You mean that awesome inclusive book series that mysteriously doesn't have an author? No, it does have an author. It's Harley from Bread Witchery, that streamer. She wrote it. But let's just take a look at this article. Yes, Harry Potter is transphobic. I believe the series is transphobic. That's very attachment to J.K. Rowling. Hello, Gingerbeard Man. How you doing? It's a dress. I like it. Thank you. Everyone seems to be enjoying the dress. Good shit. Okay, so this is an article published by Joshua Yell, and naturally, as you would expect, the response to that... Actually, you know what? Yeah, I haven't stopped by Bread Witchery stream in a while. I should. If she's live at any point, I'll try to raid her, that I can see her online. Let me have a look here. Let me see. Okay, there's no notifications for it, is there? Where's the article? Let's go, IGN. I'll find the tweet. I can let's get pissed off at some transphobes, shall we? Get pissed off at some transphobes. I blocked a few today. I don't think Twitter is sending me notifications when people respond to my response to the tweet, because it knows they're like transphobe responses. No, hang on, that's not. Oh, that's the guy who wrote the article. I'm gonna follow him, but that's not the. I want the actual IGN post by it. Okay, so here's the actual post. J.K. Rowling's transphobic rhetoric is forcing Harry Potter fans to wrestle with the series they love and its creators' prejudice. The replies to this tweet are a perfect illustration of how many cis people are totally unaffected by JKR's transphobia, would rather dig their heels in and make trans people the problem than confront transphobia. Have I used Turf Blocker? No, I have not. And then, you go through this, and it's just a bunch of people who are honestly, if you watch the J.K. Rowling video by ContraPoints, you can see these people don't actually have a point. They just don't want to respect the identity of trans people. They want to brush off any concerns that trans people have. Her work has nothing to do with what she said. It's okay if people want to hate her, but don't start shitting on one of the most famous franchises in history because she said something that made you upset. This is a stupid argument simply because of the fact that every single time you purchase or attend a screening of one of her movies, or like you buy any of the merchandise or anything like that, she's directly benefiting from it. You know, you're giving money directly to J.K. Rowling, you know? And I know like the licensing is a little bit more complicated than that. But the reality of the situation is that if you are buying any merchandise, or buying any copies of the books, or buying any copies of the movies, or the new game that's going to be coming out in the not too distant future, you are telling the companies that make these things, and thus the companies that are making deals with J.K. Rowling and the license, that it's okay to keep producing them. You are encouraging the production of those things, and you're giving her more money. That's the problem. But people don't want to have that discussion. So dramatic. She isn't forcing anyone to do anything. If we knew the views and beliefs of every person we did business with and chose not to buy from them over disagreements, we'd likely never buy anything from anyone because there'd always be something. What? That's a non-argument. Jesus Christ. You see a lot of people saying you should focus on the art and not the artist. However, that is somewhat difficult when the artist heavily profits off every aspect of said art. Fucking bingo, dude. Not saying it's impossible to separate art from artists. You're not saying you can't enjoy Harry Potter stuff anymore. You're just saying how it personally feels given your own experiences with that franchise growing up. This like the separate art from artist thing. Yeah, I can separate art from artist with, like I've mentioned before, H.P. Lovecraft, because the fucker is dead. I don't care how racist he was back in his day. He's fucking dead. He's not making any money off his Lovecraft mythos anymore. J.K. Rowling is actively still alive today and still profiting off of this franchise that she considers her dearest baby, by the way. Let's put that out there right now. J.K. Rowling desperately holds on to the Harry Potter license. It's the one thing that brought her success, honestly. She literally used a pen name and pretended to be a fellow when it suited her. Exactly, that's a point brought up by ContraPoints in the J.K. Rowling video, is that, you know, Joanne is writing books under a male pseudonym, masquerading as a man. Does she have a problem with that kind of thing? What's the issue there? Why not just publish books under the name of J.K. Rowling? You'd have more sales. Maybe for something small, but can't separate it when it's pure hate and prejudice, exactly. Here's another stupid comment. This is beneath you, IGN. The only thing I've ever heard her say is that there is a difference between a natural-born woman and a trans woman. That is a fucking dog whistle. That is a transphobic dog whistle. What they're saying when they say there's a difference between a natural-born woman and a trans woman, that's a scientific fact, and now she hates trans women? Yes, she does. In her essay that she illustrated about if there were trans people marching in the streets, trying to fight for their rights, I'd be marching right alongside you, despite the fact that there have been several trans marches in the UK. Has she been at any one of them? You can't go ahead and say something like that, Joanne, and not stick to your word. She's a fucking liar, and she is trying to... This is the thing, is like they concern troll. These transphobes, the TERFs, they concern troll. They act like they do care. Oh, we do care about trans rights, except for the fact that I don't want you in biological women's spaces. Bullshit, and it always has been. Imagine writing Lord of the Ring fan fiction and calling it your baby. Do you understand when it's something people love, it's hard to accept it's been tarnished in some way, but if you had known she was this bad before you read or watched it, would you even done so? Hate that you gave that woman your pocket money as a kid, yeah. It's unfortunate that we've got that situation now, where it's like, this is the thing, and this is why this article was written, I think. How Harry Potter fans are coping with J.K. Rowling. Inevitably, you know, I grew up with it. I didn't really get stuck into it like some people did, but I did read most of the books when they were relevant at the time. I mean, it's still relevant now, but like when it was relevant back then, when it was at its peak of popularity, I suppose you could say, when it was really blowing up and all that sort of stuff, I read most of the books and I watched most of the movies. I only got around to watching the movies in their entirety many years later, and some of the later ones are questionable in quality. And being that a lot of people my age or a bit younger than me grew up with Harry Potter and they're really attached to it, especially a lot of queer folks, it feels particularly damaging when she will put out these statements talking about the biological women. There's no reason to talk about biological women other than to be, this is why we call them, trans-exclusionary radical feminists. They don't want transgender women, specifically in this circumstance. We don't talk about the transgender men thing that often because they've been sort of pushed by the wayside in the discourse about transgender people, which is an unfortunate thing. More trans men need to be talked about in positive ways. We need to uplift trans men, but generally speaking, the majority of the discourse around transgender people is transgender women, in particular talking about the public bathrooms debacle and talking about the women in sports bullshit and all that. They're just trying to assert that they want to maintain cis woman spaces, stuff like gynecologists and the bathrooms and yada yada yada, change rooms, and they make up these straw men of what if there's this, butch burly man dude who barges in the women's restroom and decides to start raping everybody, and they never provide you with examples of this happening, because it doesn't. And if you're in a public women's restroom and someone decides they want to go in there and offend someone, it's still an illegal thing. It's still an illegal thing to go into a public women's restroom and molest women. Like, transitioning is not going to change if someone is a predator. Deciding to self-ID as a woman is not going to change if that person is a predator. They could still be a predator. They can still be as a man can be, and barge into a women's restroom and start raping people. It's already an illegal thing. They don't need to have this crusade against transgender people, other than they do not want transgender people to exist. People with views like J.K. Rowling's are explicitly genocidal by their very definition. They are fascistic. You've only been here for like 20 minutes, but I'm a great streamer. Thank you, Apollo. Thank you so kindly. Appreciate ya. You get still enjoying the old stuff, but separating art from art is hard when she's profiting off the new stuff. You wouldn't listen to new R. Kelly, Lost Prophets, or Chris Brown should you consume new stuff from JK. Let's not pretend piracy isn't a thing, just wait till it's on Putlocker. I'm glad you folks are loving it. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, the Chris Brown thing strikes me particularly because, by the way, non-binary, reading J.K. Rowling's tweets is hard for cis people. ContraPoints unpacks it at 6:25. Alright, we'll have a look at that.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Keep Liddy. You were not following until just now. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and continue to chill out with us. I've heard that happen a few times now. People have either subbed or been gifted a sub and then followed after the fact. It's kind of amusing. Amazing streamer. Thank you so much. Yeah, reading J.K. Rowling's tweets is hard for cis people. ContraPoints unpacks it at 6:25. I wish I could watch the whole video on stream. It's so good. I'll bring up this bit, and then we'll read this article. Let's watch this bit really quick.
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Bubble, toil and trouble.
I love Natalie. Oh my god, she's my absolute queen. 6:25. Here we go. The big bull seal. Have you guys seen that Rose of Dawn clip? Where is it? Free porn? No, God, Jesus. Big bull seal. Where is it? Come on, give me the fucking clip. Okay. Big bull seal, Rose of Dawn. That'll help. We'll come back to ContraPoints in a second. We have to watch this.
You probably have this image in your head that, you're going to be this really cute looking trans woman. Like effectively you're going to be this seal. Like, look at this seal. Isn't this seal adorable? You're so cute. But the truth is, you're probably not looking like this seal right now, are you? You're probably more like this big bull seal. Barging your way into women's bathrooms saying, this is a woman's body.
Oh no, I didn't mean to click on that. Big bull seal. I fucking can't, dude. It's so funny. It's a bull seal. Welcome to the Rogue Room, Big Hot Digger. How you doing? Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. There were murmurs of Cyberpunk 2077 being transphobic. There's a billboard with a stereotyped trans woman. That's true. The reasoning was it was bad because the context of the game, a shitty corporation did it, so yeah, it's bad. And I mean, I understand that argument, because the representation of it was supposed to be a capitalistic statement. People then claim there were no positive trans characters in the game. They must not have played much. One of the main side quests is with a woman who has a trans flag on her truck and later tells you that her dead husband knew her before transition. But she's portrayed as a cool, normal person. I think there's a huge host of issues with Cyberpunk 2077, honestly, with regards to transphobia. There's a lot in there. I think that we could probably find an article that unpacks it. Because there is more than that. There is more than just that one thing. You gotta help your SO with some personal things, Radio. Liddy, thank you so kindly for being here. Have a good one. Alright, let's have a look at this bit.
Burgeoning trans woman flashing her penis at cis women and saying, "It's alright, it's a woman's penis." So we're looking at a standard transphobia starter pack. Everyone born female is a woman, everyone born male is a man, trans women are predators who prey on women, and I'm being oppressed for speaking the truth. Is this what you want, Joanne? You want to put the sorting hat on humanity and divide us up into little houses? Well, what if I'm a Gryffindor trapped in a Hufflepuff's body? What then, Joanne?
I missed that line. Fuck, she's good. Fuck, she's good.
What then? Okay, so why does Joanne stand with Maya? Well, if the tweet simply said, "I stand with Maya," without further explanation, you could give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she just doesn't think people should lose their job for having bigoted opinions, even if she disagrees with those opinions. But if that's all she was saying, I wouldn't be making this video, would I? The full tweet reads,
"Dress however you please. Call yourself whatever you like. Sleep with any consenting adult who will have you. Live your best life in peace and security. But force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real. Hashtag I stand with Maya.
Another
Hashtag this is
round
not a drill."
on you.
Now I'm guessing that to
Big
most
Google
people,
mud crab.
this tweet at first glance
Thank you for the 100 bits, Garlic. How you doing?
doesn't seem transphobic. It might even seem supportive of trans people, since she said we're allowed to dress however we want and call ourselves whatever crazy thing. But there's a couple things about this that don't sit right with me. First is the phrase, "force women out of their jobs for stating that sex is real." Sex is real is a pretty dishonest summary of what Maya said in her discrimination complaint, namely,
"I believe that it is impossible to change your sex or to lose your sex. Girls grow up to be women, boys grow up to be men. No change of clothes or hairstyle, no plastic surgery, no accident or illness, no course of hormones, no force of will or social conditioning, no declaration can turn a female person into a male or a male person into a female."
If Joanne had said Maya had been fired for claiming that a person born male could never be a woman and a person born female could never be a man, that would have been more accurate, but it would also sound contentious and obviously anti-trans. "Sex is real" is a euphemism designed to present Maya Forstadter's transphobia as a simple statement of fact, basic common sense, which only crazy activists and ideologues would oppose. Transphobes love to play this game where they pretend that trans people just don't understand basic biology. That's our problem. As if I didn't start taking female hormones because I'm acutely aware that my body is not the same as a cis woman's body, that sex is real. You will never be a woman, Nathan.
So yeah, that basically... I mean, we can continue watching a little bit if you want. I've already seen the whole video. I want to rewatch it, honestly. I want to rewatch all of her stuff and all of Philosophy Tube stuff and some more H-Bomber guy. Like, it's just... Why are there so many good bread tubers? Fuck, dude. This is the best content on YouTube, for the record. Namely, Natalie. You looked up the character, you never did that series of side quests. Since it's car races, you never had any interest in that because you got awful at the car driving. Yeah, how does that even make sense? Yeah, they don't make sense. This is the problem with these transphobic people, is they specifically think that we as trans people are concerned so innately. Yarrow, 1,000 fucking bits, Jesus
Tantra
fucking
Points
Christ.
is our greatest living YouTuber.
He really is. She's my inspiration with YouTube, honestly. Thank you so kindly for the 1,000 bits, Yarrow. You've been so lovely to me tonight. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Yeah, like... If they took the time, if the transphobes actually took the time to read, and this is a problem with being trans, is you are expected to have all of the information on hand to argue your very existence. If these transphobes actually bothered to go out of their way to look into gender theory and to understand what gender is, it's not a biological male-female thing. man and woman are gender roles that were more important back when we were entirely a farming
Another
culture or
round
whatever.
on you.
Dude, really? I'll take your
You
money.
are man.
Can you, like, stop being an asshole? Jesus Christ. Give me more money and fuck off. This is exactly the issue. I'll take your cash, though. Thanks for the $1. I'll buy a Kit Kat with it or something. Maybe I'll buy something particularly phallic, like a Snickers. Anyway, how much is a Snickers, actually? I bet you they're not $1. I bet you they're more than that. Beside the point. They believe, the transphobes instinctively believe, and this is based entirely on upbringing, this is based entirely on things that they have been taught, and things that society tells them, and the social media that they consume, and the media that they consume in general. I mean, yeah, I do have to buy another pack of hormones tomorrow, so, yeah. They believe that it's all exclusively biology. Man and woman is biology. And like I was saying before, it's like the man and woman and male and female gender roles that we used to have when we were a much simpler, how do you phrase it? When we were a much more feudalist society, I suppose, or a lot more of a, people needed gender roles to procreate, I suppose. Society has shifted. I think this was actually tackled in... I want to say this was tackled in Philosophy Tube's video. I think this was tackled in Abigail's video, where she talked about gender roles used to have a very specific purpose, but nowadays in such an individualist society, we all want to be ourselves. We all want to be who we want to be and have our own identities nowadays. You know, we're not so conformed to the traditional systems we used to have that, you know, honestly, it starts to break down the gender norms that everyone's used to. And of course, I consider myself a transgender binary woman. I am just a woman. I'm not non-binary. I haven't made up a gender of my own or subscribed to somebody else's idea of gender identity, although I do love the terminology of gender trash. It's quite fantastic. The reality of the situation is I still sort of ascribe myself the role of a traditional woman, so to speak, especially when you give my fondness for makeup and the headbands and keeping my hair long, dresses. You know, I've sort of gone down that route with it. But I think the problem that a lot of transphobes have is they get fearful that their idea, and by the way, it's not new lippy, no, it's just lip gloss. I should have addressed that earlier. They get so caught up in this idea that they've been taught their entire lives that gender and sex are exactly the same thing, and they're distinctly not. They are a role that we are given, assigned at birth typically, and then we are effectively, I don't want to use this particular phrasing for it, because it is, but it isn't indoctrination. How close am I to my reasonable sub goal? 16 more subs. 16 more subs. 59 out of 75. And then I'll push the goalposts even further and set it to 100. Yeah, the point is, exactly. How does whatever fucking genitals you were born with affect them at all? It does not. Nobody needs to know... Hang on a sec. Nobody needs to know what's in my pants except my partner and me. Here we go, pushing the goalposts again. Like the TERFs. I have to show you this post, by the way. Oh my goodness.
You are now one of us.
You can't keep doing that, Yarrow. 5 gifted subs to Vess, Witches Feast on Metal, The King of Swing, and Spooky Awoo. Thank you so kindly. Those 5 gifted subs.
You are now
Goodness
one of us.
Gracious me. That's going to keep spamming that. We got a hype train going. Holy shit, dude. And Ginger Beard Man as well. Praise the Pixel, Reverend Dell, Noob Nat, Ultimate Slab, Apollo, 8192. Enjoy your subs. It is a hype train.
You are now one of us.
It is a flipping hype train. Holy heck. Let's go to the sub lounge. Let's grab ourselves some wine. I don't have any wine. I've got some water. Just pretend it's a cup of vodka. Let's fucking go, mate.
You are
hype
now
train,
one
choo
of
choo.
us.
Gay bits. Take some gay bits for the hype. I don't think I've ever had a level 5 hype train, honestly. Or maybe I can't tell. There's a thing. There's a goal. We can get there in the next 4 minutes.
You are now
Someone
one
gift
of us.
Odddecker a sub. Let's fucking go, mate. Hype train. I don't have any super huge animated bullshit that I can show off with. I can do this though. Look, I got multiple different camera angles that I'm gonna break OBS. Hello. Look at this camera, by the way. I don't know what's wrong with this. This is exactly the same camera as this one over here. But this one, you can tell, has got some frame rate issues. Look at the way my hand is moving. And then look over here. Look at how smooth this is. And then over here. I don't know what the fuck's going on. That's that one. We'll come back to that. We're here in the sub lounge. There's multiple Abbies on stream. Bingo, you get 2 of me. Entirely too much Abigail. Honestly. But my goal now, as a content creator, I don't know why the sub goal hasn't updated, by the way. I've set it to the same frame rate. I don't know what the issue is. Can't handle all that Abby. Oh, the wrong bloody button. Sub lounge. What did you say? Got caught between trains. What did you say? What happened? As a trans non-binary person, struggle with that individualism. For example, neo-pronoun sounds stupid, but you don't want to disrespect people for saying anything about it. I can understand that. It's language shifts and changes. You know, we take words that more Abigail. We'll do this one then. I'll do picture in picture at some point and have like the other camera down in the corner for no good reason. Language shifts and changes. And over time, we develop new words. I mean, realistically, words are just noises we spout out of our mouths that we give meaning for whatever reason. And posture check. My posture is fine. Are you kidding me? A sub to Odd Echo. We're nearly there. We're at 70%. We've got 2.5 minutes. And another gift sub. Gifting 1 tier sub to Kill Dark Zero. Thank you so kindly, Yarrow. Oh my god. Gingerbeard Man. There you go. Enjoy that. 91%. Can we get level 5? I don't know what happens after level 5. And there it is. 1,000 bits. Yarrow. Jesus Christ. Holy heck. By the way, I just realized my overlay is not on this scene for reasons that escape me. There we go. Sick. Look. I think we're actually at more than 69 subs, but dude. Nice. After level 5, you're getting that to 100% to completely cap it out. Level 4 hype train complete. We're at 27% of level 5. Where it's... hang on, let me check. I'm pretty sure it's beyond 69 subs, but stream labels takes forever to update. Let me check really quickly. Let me bring the music back. We haven't had music. We've been doing a hype train with no music. How can you do a hype train with no music? Can't believe this shit. Oh my goodness me. We'll switch the soundtrack up to some synthwave. I think we deserve a bit of synthwave. Contributed by Harris Heller's Stream Beats. I can't get it up is getting a gift sub from Yarrow. Thank you so bloody kindly. 43% of level 5. This is ridiculous. I actually quite like Harris Heller's Stream Beats. And yeah, the actual sub count right now is at 71. We're at 71. Can we hit that reasonable sub goal? Yeah, I reckon if we hit that reasonable sub goal, that will cap out the level 5 hype train. Do you reckon? I don't know how much of a percentage each one gets. I can click a little arrow here that shows come together as a community to support your streamer, cheer with bits, gift a sub, level 5 emotes, I don't know what these are. Contributed 8 subs. Yarrow has used 2k bits. Oh my god. Jesus fucking Christ. Fucking hell, dude. Oh my god, we're at 78 now, according to my dashboard.
You are now one of us.
Oh. Oh, okie dokie. I can't get rid of the hype train thing now. I can't. There were 143%. Thank you for gifting some subs. Yarrow to Sasarika, Real Batch Plays, Uncle Fest to 666.
Welcome back.
Draco, thank you for gifting a sub to Basena. And Yarrow for 3 Bears Gaming and Dark Sensor 0. And my alert is going crazy right now. Put in 1 sub and then it got blasted.
Welcome
yeah,
back.
I know. I don't know why the bot
Supporter
says
of the
that for
cause.
gift subs. I may have to look into that. Oh my god, that's a lot of money. That's very intimidating.
You are now
Thank you
one
for
of
helping
us.
me absolutely annihilate my reasonable sub goal of 75. We're going to push those goalposts, but I'm going to leave it at 75 for tonight. We are going to push them goalposts even further, just
You
like
are
the
now one of
transphobes. Just like the frickin' transphobes, we're going to push the goalposts. We're going to move those goalposts to 100. That's our next sub goal. Oh my goodness. I haven't had hype trains this ridiculous in ages. And I don't know how to respond to them. I don't know how to respond to people giving me money. What do you do? Like, I've been streaming for 3 years as of... Let me look this up actually. I want to do a... Let me look up my actual first stream. Because we're coming close to my 3-year anniversary on Twitch. In just over a month. It was... Let me have a gander. My first ever stream. Here's a bit of Rogue Bitch history for you. March 28, 2018 is when I started streaming. So put that in your calendars. March 28, or it might be 27 for some of you. Welcome to the Rogue Room, person whose name is in... that's not kanji, is it? I can't read that, but welcome to the Rogue Room, friend. I hope you're doing well. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. 143% level 5 hype train. It's Korean, okay. Because kanji is Japanese, isn't it? Been subbed so long, you probably have a gold lounge. I should do something. I gotta do something. I have to do something, dude. For subs. I have to do something crazy, something wild. You know what? I have got something wild that we can do. Let's do this. And this. I did this before. I mentioned this. I brought this up. Saying I'll read about the Midnight. Retro Synthwave, and they've... oh, cool. I think I do follow them. I think I follow them on Facebook. They do sound familiar. The Midnight. I will try to... Here we go. I forgot I set this up with my smart lights. There we go. Hype Train smart lights. I know how to be a streamer. See? Easy. You just get 3 different smart lights. Set them to party mode. Set the thing in the background. That should be on this one. There we go. Flashing colored lights. There we go. The Midnight. Alright, let's check out the Midnight. Let's have a listen to the Midnight. Sorry if I give anyone a seizure.
Another round on you.
Oh my god, Joseph Shahin. Let's listen to some The Midnight, shall we? This is their top song. Level 5 Hype Train emotes. Fuck yes. The lighting is dope. I love these. Joseph, thank you so kindly for the 100 there. For the 100 bits, we have hit 14 subs and 2,700 bits with these Hype Trains. Holy fucking shit. That's massive. That's massive, dude. What do I say? What do I do? Like, a bit of philosophy. Let's do it. Okay. Who do you feel like listening to? What's up? Well, we were going through a Hype Train. We were talking about J.K. Rowling, and we'll come back to that topic shortly. But let me get my little book of philosophy. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to read this on stream, but I'm fucking gonna. Okay, so. What do you think? PG-ish strip club name. I mean, the Rogue Room. The polls are just off camera. Might be illegal. It might be against copyright or something. I don't know if I can read Penguin. No, sorry, DK Books. A little book of philosophy. Who do you feel like learning about today in terms of philosophers? Hey. We've got philosophers from the ancient world, medieval and Renaissance era, the Age of Revolution, or the modern world. Sadly, there's no future philosophers thing. You know, quite frankly, if they do a follow-up to this, Natalie needs to be in there. It's a strip club. Yeah, you can name if you want. Go ahead. Modern. All right, let's pick someone from the modern era. Here's one that I like the sound of. Nietzsche. Have you guys read any Nietzsche? I have not. I've only read this. I'm not exactly an educated person, but I like philosophy. I'd like to read some of it, but, you know, looking through this list of all these different philosophers, that's just the second page. There's another whole page here of even more philosophers whose works I probably should read, and there's even, like, there's only, like, 2 or 3 female philosophers listed in here, so I've got to find all the female philosophers and read their work as well. Trying not to be a cunt is hard. I agree, Bot. I shouldn't have set that as my main thing. How you doing? Let's read about Nietzsche. The modern world. Man is something to be surpassed. Feels particularly relevant. 138. Alright, let's have a look here. I don't think we touched on Nietzsche before. 138. Alright, the modern world, 1900 to present. Man is something to be surpassed. Friedrich Nietzsche, 1844 to 1900. You just so happen to be waiting for a doctor's appointment. Very nice, very nice. At this time of night, are you in the hospital? Goodness me. Oh, is that doctor's appointment? So branch ethics. Man, as you something to be surpassed as you taking your HRT. Yeah, I do have a Discord server. ! Discord. If you want to jump in to the discourse, I'm going to make another room in the Discord server called the Discourse. Branch ethics, approach existentialism. Before 380 BC, Plato explores the distinction between reality and appearance in his dialogue The Republic. 1st century CE, the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew's Gospel in the Bible advocates turning away from this world to the greater reality of the world to come. 1781, Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason argues that we can never know how the world is in itself. After Nietzsche, Nietzsche's work is used to help construct the mythology of Nazism. Well, just Australia, my family roots and such. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Michel Foucault's The Order of Things discusses the overcoming of man. So let's actually read. This late at night at 10:47 p.m. where I am. Nietzsche's idea that man is something to be surpassed appears in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, perhaps his most famous book. I want to read that one. It was written in 3 parts in 1883 to 1884, with a 4th part added in 1885. So he wrote that, or at least published that, when he was like 40-ish years old. Okay. The German philosopher used it to launch a sustained attack on the history of Western thought. He targets 3 linked ideas in particular. The idea we have of man, or human nature. 2nd, the idea we have of God. And 3rd, the ideas we have about morality or ethics. So there's a little chart here. It says Christianity says everything important in this world is less important than that of the next after death. It says we should turn away from what seems important in this life and try to transcend it, but in doing this we turn away from life itself. Christianity's idea of man undermines us, and besides, God is dead. We must surpass this limiting idea. Philosophy professor said Nietzsche wrote a lot of stuff against anti-Semitism. Yeah, of course the Nazis would ignore that. So I turn these lights off. This is a bit obnoxious now. It's hard to read because it's giving me a seizure or something. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I might develop seizures later in life, given various things.
Welcome to the Rogue
Welcome to the Rogue Room. Yumi. Fans must be called rogues. I mean, I was thinking that. You guys can be my rogues gallery. What do you think? Appreciate the follow. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. I might actually change that logo to say The Rogue Room. I might actually change it and do a nice new logo. I've been meaning to update some of my graphics just a bit. Elsewhere, Nietzsche writes about philosophizing with a hammer, and here he certainly attempts to shatter many of the most cherished views of the Western philosophical tradition, especially in relation to these 3 things. He does so in a style that is astonishingly hot-headed and fevered, so that at times the book seems closer to prophecy than philosophy. It was written quickly, with part 1 taking him only a few days to set down on paper. Even so, while Nietzsche's book does not have the calm, analytical tone that people have perhaps come to expect of philosophical works, the author still succeeds in setting out a remarkably consistent and hugely challenging vision. Nietzsche was misinterpreted after he died, like with all texts, really. Like, I mean, look at the situation now with socialism, and how people hate the idea of socialism because they don't want to do any research on it. They don't want to actually study what socialism is. I am a socialist democrat. I believe in social democracy. Socialist democracy, but people associate socialism with fascism because of the fact that the National Socialist German Workers' Party was the Nazis. Of course, the Nazis were never in any way socialists, they were fascists. We know this. Anywho, just a little bit of a fun fact there. The Rogue Squadron, I feel like that's too tied to Star Wars. But the Rogues Gallery, as much as I have a bit of a disdain for comic book characters, the term Rogues Gallery generally refers to having a band of villains that the hero typically fights. You know, Spider-Man's got a Rogues Gallery, Batman's got a Rogues Gallery, Superman, etc., etc. It's their particular cast of villains they typically go up against. But that makes us all sound like bad guys, and I think you're all a lovely bunch of people who are the best in the world. Charlotte Official 005, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us while we read a bit about Nietzsche. We're not actually reading Nietzsche. Where was I? Zarathustra descends. The name of Zarathustra. The name of Nietzsche's prophet Zarathustra is an alternative name for the ancient Persian prophet Zoroaster. The book begins by telling us that at the age of 30, Zarathustra goes to live in the mountains. For 10 years, he delights in the solitude, but one dawn he wakes to find that he is weary of the wisdom he has accumulated alone on the mountain. So he decides to descend to the marketplace to share this wisdom with the rest of humankind. On the way down to the town, at the foot of the hill, he meets with an old hermit. The two men have already met 10 years before when Zarathustra first ascended the mountain. The hermit sees Zarathustra has changed during the past decade. When he climbed the mountain, the hermit says Zarathustra carried ashes, but now as he descends, he is carrying fire. Then the hermit asks Zarathustra a question. Why are you going to the trouble of sharing your wisdom? He advises Zarathustra to stay in the mountains, warning him that nobody will understand his message. Shocking how that works out. Hydrate, thank you, Charlotte. Rogue Nation is an idea.
The Rogue Room appreciates your recommendation.
Thank you for the host, Charlotte. Where were we? Zarathustra then asks the question, what does the hermit do in the mountains? The hermit replies that he sings, weeps, laughs, mumbles, and praises God. On hearing this, Zarathustra himself laughs. Then he wishes the hermit well and continues on his way down the mountain. As he goes, Zarathustra says to himself, how can it be possible? This old hermit has not yet heard that God is dead. This feels like Nietzsche's self-insert fanfic. It does a bit. I mean, realistically speaking, that's what every author does. It takes a lot of introspection to create a character in a series and a setting that doesn't heavily involve the self. Behold the Superman. The idea of the death of God may be the most famous of all Nietzsche's ideas and is closely related both with the idea that man is something to be surpassed and to Nietzsche's distinctive understanding of morality. The relationship between these things becomes clear as the story of Zarathustra continues. When he reaches the town, Zarathustra sees that there is a crowd gathered around a tightrope walker who is about to perform, and he joins them. Before the acrobat has a chance to walk... This goes on for pages, dude. Oh my god, Jesus Christ. There's a lot here. Do we read the whole segment? The whole chapter? Do you reckon? I used to do this where I would only read like a paragraph, but we might as well do the whole thing and learn about Friedrich Nietzsche. Before the acrobat has a chance to walk across his robe, Zarathustra stands up. It is at this point that he says, behold, I teach you the Superman. He continues by telling the crowd the real point he wishes to convey. Man is something to be surpassed. Zarathustra follows this with a long speech, but when he gets to the end, the crowd only laughs, imagining that the prophet is just another showman, or perhaps even a warm-up performer for the tightrope walker. In opening his book in this unusual way, Nietzsche seems to be betraying his own unease with the reception that his philosophy will receive, as if he is afraid that he will be seen as a philosophical showman without anything real to say. That's how I feel with everything I fucking do. I feel like I'm nothing but an entertainer, and my ideas are going to be completely glossed over. That's a thing I think especially a lot of streamers fear, is being seen as nothing more than a class clown or a what's the thing called, a court jester kind of deal, and no one will take them seriously. A lot of self-doubt there out in the world, especially among entertainery types. If we want to avoid making the same mistake as the crowd gathered around Zarathustra and actually understand what Nietzsche is saying, it is necessary to explore some of Nietzsche's core beliefs. And it just goes on for pages and pages. Dance for our bits. Unfortunately, I'm not, what's her name? That dancing girl with the green hair. The streamer that's got vibrant green hair and she does dancing streams. Little Siha. Yeah. Overturning old values. Nietzsche believes that certain concepts have become inextricably entangled. Humankind, morality, and God. When his character Zarathustra says God is dead, he is not simply launching an attack upon religion, but doing something much bolder. God here does not only mean the God that philosophers talk about or the religious pray to, it means the sum total of the higher values that we might hold. The death of God is not just the death of a deity, it is also the death of all the so-called higher values that we have inherited. One of the central purposes of Nietzsche's philosophy is what he calls the revaluation of all values, an attempt to call into question all of the ways that we are accustomed to thinking about ethics and the meanings and purposes of life. Nietzsche repeatedly maintains that in doing so he is setting out a philosophy of cheerfulness which, although it overturns everything we have thought up until now about good and evil, nevertheless seeks to affirm life. He claims that many of the things that we think are good are in fact ways of limiting or of turning away from life. We think it We may think it is not good to make a fool of ourselves in public and so resist the urge to dance joyfully in the street. We may believe that the desires of the flesh are sinful and so punish ourselves when they arise. We may stay in mind-numbing jobs not because we need to, but because we feel it is our duty to do so. Nietzsche wants to put an end to such life-denying philosophies and so that humankind can see itself in a different way. So right here, like we already see this part, we may stay in mind-numbing jobs not because we need to, but because we feel it is our duty to do so. That feels philosophically like it ties in very much with Arbeit macht frei, which was hoisted over Divya.sos. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. He was born in 1844. Yeah, he was born a long time ago. But that particular line feels very... feels like it ties in, because we mentioned the Nazis, I'm thinking before. The Nazis used Nietzsche's writings as a base for their philosophies. It feels very likely that they might have seen that and used that as a slogan. Arbeit macht frei means work will set you free, and is plastered above parts of Auschwitz, the concentration camp. So, the coercion, the work will be the good thing that sets you free, that gives you your place in the world, that gives you the reality you are supposed to have, kind of thing. Even though that runs directly counter to his philosophies, according to everything I'm reading. What else was there in here? Let's read a little bit about him as a person, because you mentioned he was born in 1844, not 1944. Was born in Prussia in 1844 to a religious family. His father, uncle, and grandfathers were all Lutheran ministers. His father and younger brother died when he was a young child, and he was brought up by his mother, grandmother, and 2 aunts. Feminist. At the age of 24, he became a professor at the Basel University, where he met the composer Richard Wagner, who influenced him strongly until Wagner's anti-Semitism forced Nietzsche to end their friendship. In 1870, he contracted diphtheria and dysentery, and thereafter suffered continual ill health. He was forced to resign his professorship in 1879, and for the next 10 years travelled in Europe. In 1889, he collapsed in the street while attempting to prevent a horse from being whipped, and suffered some form of mental breakdown from which he never recovered. He died in 1900, aged 56. What did Nietzsche mean by that? Let's go back to this bit for a second. Let's reread this. Let's reread this segment. We may think it is good to make a fool of ourselves in public and so resist the urge to dance joyfully in the street. We may believe that the desires of the flesh are sinful and so punish ourselves when they arise. We may stay in mind-numbing jobs not because we need to, but because we feel it is our duty to do so. So he's writing here about the things that at his time, were considered good, and he was arguing that they were not. Nietzsche wants to put an end to such life-denying philosophy so that humankind can see itself in a different way. So the idea, of course, was that things like staying in a job so that you have a place in society, it's a good thing, and self-flagellating because you have sexual urges, denying yourself the pleasures of the flesh and all those kind of things. He's writing on, specifically, we talked about how he was specifically effectively anti-religion, anti-Christianity, anti-Western philosophy in the way that he's writing here. So Detroit, there you go. I'm a philosophy streamer now. Do you like me? This is quite frankly one of the easiest ones to understand in terms of the philosophers I've read about in this book, because I have always been in a sort of similar situation, raised in a particularly non-religious household, but have spent a significant length of time researching religion and trying to understand it and trying to wrap my head around religious ideologies. I wouldn't mind doing something with my video essays about religion and my experiences with it and my personal takes on it, quite frankly. There's an idea. I'll write that one down. But the tricky thing there, of course, is that my interactions with religion in a strict, in a formal sense, are very limited. Anyway, so how many more have we got of this? There's a lot here about Nietzsche. It goes on for another 2 pages. Do we continue reading it, or do we move back to J.K. Rowling? Because we were talking about J.K. Rowling originally. This is good. Sending good vibes. Thank you, Divya. What was I doing? I forget what I was doing. I was looking at something. Oh yeah, I've got ContraPoints' video up, and I've got Transphobes on Twitter. Let me close that for a second. Oh my god, like, dude, I make so many. Nietzsche's interesting, but JK's more so. I think we'll do one more paragraph of Nietzsche and we'll go back to JK Rowling, because that's more relevant. Nietzsche's better than Rowling. I would rather read about Nietzsche in a broader context. Maybe we could do a full Nietzsche stream. I should pick up Thus Spoke Zarathustra. I thought it was Thus Spake Zarathustra. I swear it was Thus Spake Zarathustra, which always struck me as a really more interesting way of saying spoke, really. That's all it is. What's the title of that book? This is The Little Book of Philosophy by DK Books. Quite educational. It's not going to give you the full context of everything that's written in these philosophy books, but it has given me a broader understanding of the things that these philosophers have said. But anyway, we will get back to Rowling in a minute, because she's a bitch. After Zarathustra proclaims the coming of the Superman, he swiftly moves to condemn religion. In the past, he says the greatest blasphemy was to blaspheme against God, but now the greatest blasphemy is to blaspheme against life itself. This is the error that Zarathustra believes he made upon the hillside. In turning away from the world, and in offering up prayers to God who is not there, he was sinning against life. The history behind this death of God, or loss of faith in our higher values, is told in Nietzsche's essay How the Real World at Last Became a Myth, which was published in Twilight of the Idols. This essay carries the subtitle History of an Error, as in error, computer error sort of thing, and it is extraordinarily condensed one-page history of Western philosophy. The story begins, Nietzsche says, with the Greek philosopher Plato. Speaketh. Or at least a song from 2000. Oh, that might be where I got it from. The song from 2001, A Space Odyssey, might be it. I've seen most of that movie, but I am regretful to admit I actually turned it off because I was bored. I will have to go back and watch the whole fucking thing. It's a very slow movie, please forgive me. I think the only Kubrick movie I've actually watched all the way through is, I was going to say Silence of the Lambs, that's not Kubrick. The one with The Shining, that's it. I've seen that one all the way through. Existing between the levels of animal and Superman, human life, Nietzsche says, is a dangerous wayfaring, dangerous looking back, and dangerous trembling and halting. Very fucking slow. It's quite tremendous in a lot of ways. It's very visually spectacular, especially for the time. But I got halfway through it. Same with Scarface. I got halfway through Scarface, which for all intents and purposes I've heard is a tremendous movie. No, she's not. I'm being facetious, of course. Her views on trans people are extremely problematic, saying she's a bitch, supports people's attacks on her. That's not really... I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And generally speaking, when I do confront these people, I try to confront them with the reality of the situation, but they don't want to listen. So I've taken to just blocking transphobes. Can you have a Nietzsche mustache? Yes, you can. Actually, Jacinta, I think I've seen a few Nietzsche-looking mustaches around Costume Shop. I have considered picking one up. How you doing, lovely? The real world. Plato divided the world into an apparent world that appears to us through our senses and a real world that we can grasp through the intellect. For Plato, the world we perceive through the senses is not real because it is changeable and subject to decay. Plato suggests that there is also an unchanging, permanent, real world that can be attained with the help of the intellect. This idea comes from Plato's study of mathematics. The form of a triangle, for example, is eternal and can be grasped by the intellect. We know that the triangle is a three-sided, two-dimensional figure whose angles will always add up to 180 degrees, and that this will always be true whether anyone is thinking about it or not, and however many triangles exist in the world. On the other hand, the triangular things that do exist in the world, such as sandwiches, pyramids, and triangular shapes drawn on a chalkboard, are triangular only insofar as they are reflections of this idea or form of the triangle. It's slow, but 2001 in 4K. I'll have to watch it in 4K. How do they do that? How do they take movies that, you know... I mean, I suppose film helps. Film would have had a particular way of having a higher visual fidelity than digital, for example. Of course, digital is sort of catching up in terms of its visual fidelity, but yeah, original film is very high resolution. Could be taken out of context, that's true. It's true. You're helping me here, non-binary, honestly. NBSP. What do I call you? You are helping me, you know, develop as a person with this kind of stuff. And I've been trying to be much more aware of the way I speak and the things I say, because I want to be a good and NBSP works. There you go. I have been trying to be a positively influential streamer, especially of late. Star Trek TNG has been re-released in HD because it was shot on film. I'll have to give that a watch, because I've watched a bit of TNG and I greatly enjoy it. Film has more resolution than most digital normal 35mm photo, probably like 8-9K. There you go. Where were we? Influenced by mathematics in this way, Plato proposed that the intellect can gain access to a whole world of ideal forms, which is permanent and unchanging, whereas the senses have access only to the world of appearances. So, for example, if we want to know about goodness, we need to have an intellectual appreciation of the forms of goodness, of which the various examples of goodness in the world are only reflections. This is an idea that had far-reaching consequences for our understanding of the world, not least because, as Nietzsche points out, this way of dividing up the world makes the real world of the intellect the place where everything of value resides. In contrast, it makes the apparent world of the senses a world that is, relatively speaking, unimportant. You can just scan it at the current high res. There you go. For Plato, everything in this world, even beauty, is only a shadow of forms in another world. Christianity sees this life as merely a forerunner to the more important life after death. Christian values. Christian Bale. Kristen Bell. Nietzsche traces the fortunes of this tendency to split the world into two and finds the same idea appears within Christian thought. In the place of the real world of Plato's forms, Christianity substitutes an alternative real world, a future world of heaven that is promised to the virtuous. Nietzsche believes that Christianity views the world we live in now as somehow less real than heaven, but this version of the two worlds idea, the real world, is unattainable, albeit after death, and on condition that we follow Christian rules in this life. I have a curious concept, a curious idea. Has anyone pursued this in terms of game design? I know it's a weird thing to bring up, but I just thought to myself, it's like, is there a game out there? I suppose, you know, you got games that do like New Game Plus or whatever, but I'm just thinking to myself, is there a game out there specifically that takes the concept of, you've completed the adventure, but here's the next step, and you, I don't know, transcend to another plane of existence after you think the story has ended. There's probably some bullshit like that I have never even heard of, more than likely. Portal? Kind of, in a way. And it's a very weird concept. I'm gonna throw the word ephemeral out there again, because I know what it means now. No way you're going to heaven with your sinfully good looks, Jacinta, my goodness. Madam, there is definitely no way you're getting into heaven, lovely. Good night, folks, have a good one. Oh my god, my eyelashes are sticking together, ew. Have a good one, folks. So where were we? Nietzsche believes that Christianity views the world we live in now as somehow less real than heaven, but in this version of the two worlds idea, the real world is attainable, albeit after death and on condition. Oh, we read that bit. Follow the Christian rule. The present world is devalued as it is with Plato, except insofar as it acts as a stepping stone to the world beyond. Nietzsche claims that Christianity asks us to destroy the present life in favor of the promise of a life to come. What is the reasoning that suicide is considered sinful in Christian ideology? Can someone explain in Christian theology? Why is suicide considered a sin? I promise we will come back to Harry Potter. We'll close the J.K. Rowling video though for now. If you have not already watched ContraPoint's video J.K. Rowling, do yourself a service after my stream and go watch it. It's fucking good. Because you're being rude to God. Christian views on suicide. Let's have a look. Wikipedia, the #1 source of information on the internet. God gave you a life, so you don't have the right to take it. Not your view. I think I get it. Yeah. Sister explained it as you're disrespecting the sanctity and gift of life. You don't get to decide when you leave this world. God does. But here's the hypocrisy in that statement. And this is the typical argument against Christianity and any other religion that asserts an omnipotent God. This is the argument that I always use, the argument that many anti-theists tend to use. If God is all-knowing and all-present and is aware of, has planned everything, and it is sinful to commit suicide, and you will go to hell for that sin, is it not already in God's plan that you were going to commit suicide in the first place? Thereby, the sin that was committed according to God's plan. How do we reconcile that as a religious concept? How do they mentally affirm that whole thing? Also, I'm curious as to how religious folks deal with suicide in a funeral sense, in a funerary sense. If a child, that's kind of morbid, but I'm thinking like, you know, if a teenager at church, who's a churchgoer, kills themselves, and then, you know, the congregation is explicitly like very, very devout. How do they deal with the funeral process? How do they eulogize this person that committed suicide? I've never experienced these things. Honestly, I would be curious to go and see for myself, but that's a patently disturbing idea. Waiting around until someone kills themselves to attend their funeral is if they're a Christian or whatever. It would be interesting as a project, though. Try to be respectful and mourn without bringing up the obvious. Forgive sin, but don't condone it. Just brings up the major conflict of the Christian God. Everything is his plan, but you should pray for things, but he already made up his mind, but do it anyway. Also, you have free will, but it's all his plan, but somehow still free will. It's so fucking... Religion pisses me off so much. This is why I'm anti-theistic. Because there's so much hypocrisy baked into the very notion. I'm doing a religion video. Fuck it. Not now. I'll do it later. I'm doing the fucking religion video. Expect that sometime this year. I'll do a religion video essay. Where were we? The Superman is someone of enormous strength and independence in mind and body. Nietzsche denied any had existed, but named Napoleon, Shakespeare, and Socrates as models. Wasn't Napoleon super short? How can he be of enormous strength and independence in mind and body, and he names Napoleon? He's like 5'1". Can you ask the dumb question if I don't dislike people for being Christian. You've only been to a small handful of funerals and none with suicide. Okay. If you commit suicide, then you can't be buried in the churchyard. You can help with the religion video, absolutely. The experience of religious people will be a huge help. Super anti-theist. Yeah, I don't mean, when I say anti-theist, that makes it sound like I'm anti-religious people. I'm anti the institution of religion. That's the major problem I have. And more specifically, the way that religion is used as a controlling device. By that measure, I consider all religions to be fascist. Found out that Napoleon was gay. It wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Yes, organized religion. Perfect. That's the best way to look at it. Faith is your business, but please be aware of those who don't wish to share it. Your truth. Hello, Winter. How you doing, lovely? What's going on? Okay, so we're reading about Nietzsche at the moment in the Little Book of Philosophy. Both the Platonic and Christian versions. That's not Platonic as in Nietzsche was just friends with that guy until he turned out to be an anti-Semite and he was like, oh, I'm going to leave now. No, Platonic, and Christian versions of the idea that the world is divided into a real and an apparent one have profoundly affected our thoughts about ourselves. Why is it called Platonic? Here's a bit more education for you. Why is it called Platonic? Platonic love or platonic relationship means a close relationship between two people that is not romantic. The term is named after Plato, who never used the term himself. He was the first to describe this kind of love, the theory of eros. But isn't eros erotic love? Although eros meaning love. He describes his philosophy in his dialogues, the Phaedrus and the Symposium. Like many in his society, Plato was most interested in the same-sex relationships between older and younger men, but his theory can apply to other kinds of erotic relationships as well. Platonic love includes a sexual desire that is overcome by a stronger desire and appreciation for friendship. Oh, math! Oh, science! Where were we? We're getting to the Nazis. Don't believe Catholics or Protestants have burial restrictions on people who die by suicide. There you go. What does an atheist say during sex? Oh, I'm an atheist. I now see why you said, oh, math, oh, science. What was, Oh, Dawkins! End me. The suggestion that everything of value in the world is somehow beyond the reach of this world leads to a way of thinking that is fundamentally life-denying. As a result of this Platonic and Christian heritage, we have come to see the world we live in as a world that we should resent and disdain. I mean, I do. Let's be honest with ourselves. A world from which we should turn away, transcend, and certainly not enjoy. But in doing so, we have turned away from life itself in favor of a myth or an invention, an imagined real world that is situated elsewhere. Nietzsche calls priests of all religions preachers of death because their teachings encourage us to turn from this world and from life to death. But why does Nietzsche insist that God is dead? To answer this, we must look at the work of the 18th century German philosopher Immanuel Kant, whose ideas are critical to understanding the philosophy of Nietzsche's work. Now, of course, I'm very, very much a fan of Immanuel Kant, because his surname sounds like cunt. That's it, I haven't actually read any of his work. A world beyond reach. Say, oh mommy. Yeah. Say, oh mommy to Alcina Dimitrescu, who is 9'6", with her heels and hat. Big Resident Evil Village mommy with the fat mommy milkers. I'm gonna play that game because of my appreciation for horror, not at all my appreciation for fat titties and very large woman. Why are you looking at me like that? What? Kant was interested in the limits of knowledge. In his book Critique of Pure Reason, he argued that we cannot know that the world is in itself. We cannot attain it with the intellect as Plato believed, nor is it promised to us after death as in the Christian view. It exists, we assume, but is forever out of reach. The reasons that Kant uses to come up with this conclusion are complex, but what is important from Nietzsche's point of view is that, if the real world is said to be absolutely unattainable, even to the wise or the virtuous, in this world or the next, then it is an idea grown useless, superfluous. As a result, it is an idea that we need to do away with. If God is dead, Nietzsche is perhaps the person who stumbles across corpse. Nevertheless, it is Kant whose fingerprints are all over the murder weapon. Stop talking about vampire mommy. Cunt. Immanuel Kant. I think it's It's Immanuel Kant. Kant. Beginner's oh, look. Oh, this feels weird now. I don't. This feels really weird. But thank you for linking this philosophy to your video. It feels very strange to look at that face. In the same way, let me weird you out. Let me weird you out for a moment. Sit still. Don't go away, children. Let me weird you out like crazy right now, okay? Let's go here. Let's go here. Scroll for months. No, that's still... Here we go. You want to see something strange? You want to see something that'll fuck your mind up a little bit? Because I know some of you have particularly. No, you know what? We need to go even further back. We need to go further. We need to go much further. Here we go. Where is a good example? Here we go. This is actually perfect. Actually amazing. I know quite a few of you have complimented my appearance, and I thank you so kindly for that. I thank you so kindly for telling me I look pretty and I look beautiful, and my makeup is really good, and you know, my breasts, though they're small and humble. Anyway, did that work? Okay, here we go. Let's fuck your heads a bit. My name's not anywhere on the screen. You know what? Let's go to... Where is it? Hang on a sec, I gotta try this. Small titty goth GF. I am a little bit goth tonight. Not completely, but... Okay. Hold your breath. Who's that? Can you tell? Goth GF of irrelevant bust size are all nice. Do you know who that is? The man that wasn't there. It's a Shakira lyric. Yes, this is a Shakira lyric. Someone who's dead now. Yes, this is the man who wasn't there. Oh my god. I can really tell. I've seen this before. I've seen this mentioned before. Like, look at the eyes. People have mentioned this numerous times in pictures of me and all this sort of stuff. Like, people have said the sensation of dead behind the eyes, and I finally see it. It's such a strange thing to look at a picture of a person and just like, you look like you're in pain. Like, it's like, especially to like pre-transition folks. I see this all the time whenever I see someone post a trans timeline. I might actually use this one because despite the dead look behind the eyes, he's quite charming. But the point remains. There is an awkwardness about seeing someone pre-transition knowing that they are trans, knowing that they have transitioned. So happy that I'm me now and you came across me. Thank you, Ginger. I'm thankful that you are here. But yeah, that is the man who wasn't there. That is my man who wasn't there. Big act. Yeah, honestly, the facial hair thing was a huge part of the facade. A huge part of the masquerade. Of putting on, like, everyone has to know that I'm this so that I fit in, that I blend in, and they don't have to be made uncomfortable by the reality of me. So take every single possible aspect of the gender role that was assigned to you. So beard, muscles, the short hair for a time, and of course the hyper-masculine machismo aloofness as well, like not that sensation of not caring about the world, not showing emotion. Like there was a whole lot that went into it. I used to feel uncomfortable. Now I'm sort of like, I feel like there's enough of a disconnect between me and him now, aesthetically, that I'm just like, it's okay. I'm not too bad. What's my opinion about trans fats? What are trans fats? I know of them, but I'm like, what are they specifically? What are trans fats and why are they bad for you? Nutrition. I don't know. I think they're supposed to be bad. It's been a while since I've done any research on dietary stuff. Trans fat liberation now. I mean, if we've got any fat trans folks in chat, solidarity, even though I'm not fat. Although I'm dealing with a bit of a dietary crisis. I'm dealing with a bit of a lot of body dysmorphia at the moment. My weight on the scale was up to 73, and I've been cutting my calories rather significantly as a response to that. So gonna try to turn that around and eat a little bit more. I still want to lose weight. I still want to get below 70 kilograms. Where were we? I've lost where we were. Okay, Kant's whose fingerprint was all over the murder weapon. I am talking in kilos, yes, not pounds, don't worry. So we're on the last page. We'll read the rest of this and then we'll go back to J.K. Rowling. Once we have dispensed with the idea of the real world, the long-held distinction between the real world and the apparent world begins to break down. In How the Real World at Last Became a Myth, Nietzsche goes on to explain this as follows. We have abolished the real world. What world is left? The apparent world, perhaps? But no. With the real world, we have also abolished the apparent world. Nietzsche now sees the beginning of the end of philosophy's longest era, its infatuation with the distinction between appearance and reality, and the idea of two worlds. The end of this era, Nietzsche writes, is the zenith of mankind, the high point of all humanity. It is at this point, in an essay written 6 years after Thus Spake Zarathustra. Now it's referenced as Thus Spake Zarathustra. It was referenced as Thus Spoke Zarathustra earlier. Now it's Thus Spake Zarathustra. The Nietzsche writes, Zarathustra begins. This is a key moment for Nietzsche because when we grasp the fact that there is only one world, we suddenly see the error that had put all the values beyond this world. We are then forced to reconsider all our values and even what it means to be human. And when we see through these philosophical illusions, the old idea of the man can be surpassed. The Superman, Nietzsche's vision of a fundamentally life-affirming way of being, the Superman is Nietzsche's vision of a fundamentally life-affirming way of being. It is one that can become the bearer of meaning not in the world beyond, but here, Superman is the meaning of the earth. I'm someone who is in danger of being blown away by a stiff breeze. Translation issues. More excited for HRT to take away your libido than you are for boobs. I want boobs. I want titties. I want fat knockers. My family genetically has some fat titties. Let's throw that out there. I would like some. Thanks. I'd like a shred of boob. At the moment, all I've got is pecs. At least I've got pecs. I've got abs. I will say that. I'm pretty happy with the fact that I finally have abs. Abby's got abs. Not really like ripped. You can see every fucking oblique and every muscular. What are they called? The muscle heads. Spare a cup of titty, please. Ask Katie to lend you some. I've seen so many girls say that kind of like, I'd give you some boob if I could. Like, how long before we reach the point where that's possible? Have a monstrous libido and it makes you want to die. I know the feeling, honestly, and I'm glad HRT did take away my sex drive largely. It's not a distraction anymore, it's great. Nietzsche's writings did not reach a large audience in his lifetime, so much so that he had to pay for the publication of the final part of Thus Spoke. Which is it, Nietzsche? Or the publisher of this book? You keep swapping between Thus Spake Zarathustra and Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Pick one. And the final part of Thus Spoke Zarathustra himself. But around 30 years after his death in 1900, the idea of the Superman fed into the rhetoric of Nazism through Hitler's readings of Nietzsche's work. Nietzsche's ideas about the Superman, and particularly his call for the eradication of the Jewish-Christian morality that held sway throughout Europe, would have been attractive to Hitler as validation for his own aims. This is again, coming back to the translation and the interpretation of the things that we consume. Hitler already had ideas in his head about what he was going to do, and Nietzsche, reading Nietzsche, further informed those ideas in a negative way that led to a lot of people being dead. Does getting abs have to do with your transition? No, it's just the fact that I've been eating a lot less. I've dropped about 26 kilograms since August. I was very overweight. Translation. Where were we? But when Nietzsche seemed to be searching for a return to a more rustic, life-affirming values of pagan Europe, Hitler took his writings as an excuse for unbridled violence and transgression on a grand scale. The consensus among scholars is that Nietzsche himself would have been horrified by this turn of events. Writing in an era of extraordinary nationalism, patriotism, and colonial expansion, Nietzsche was one of the few thinkers to call these assumptions into question. At one point in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he makes it clear that he considers nationalism a form of alienation or failure. It is. Only where the state ends, Zarathustra says, there begins the human being who is not superfluous. Nietzsche's open-ended idea of human possibility was important to many philosophers in the period following World War II. His ideas about religion and the importance of self-evaluation can be traced especially in the work of succeeding existentialists, such as the French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre.
On you.
Hitler is bad, thank you, Yarrow, for even more bits.
Pouting face.
Pouty face. You got us to a level 5 hype train tonight, and even more bits. My goodness. I feel so greedy. I don't know how to, I feel bad taking money. This is the problem of the starving artist conundrum. I want to perform, and I want to educate, and I want to inform, and I want to do everything I can to give you guys the best entertainment you possibly can. You could possibly have. And I feel really guilty taking money, but at the same time it's like, I would rather take money from fans of what I do here than take money from a sponsor, for example, who wants me to sell a shady fucking noodle kit or energy drink. Whatever it's called. The Transpon's thoughts on public transport: shut the whole fucking system down, or upgrade it significantly and get rid of all the cars on the roads. The French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre. Like Nietzsche's Superman, Sartre says that we must each define the meaning of our own existence. Nietzsche's damning criticisms of the Western philosophical tradition have had a huge impact not only on philosophy, but also on European and world culture, and they went on to influence countless artists and writers in the 20th century. There we go. Nietzsche's writings were edited and censored by his anti-Semitic sister Elizabeth, who controlled his archive after he became insane. This allowed the Nazis to willfully interpret them. There you go. It's my wage. True. I can appreciate that, at the very least. I mean, my goal, honestly, in terms of actual Twitch income, would be to reach minimum wage per stream. 3 hours a day at the moment is what I'm streaming, roughly. If I could reach that level of income, just like get back in the wagey cagey. If I could reach that level of income from streaming, at the very least, that'd be a good start. That's kind of the financial goal at the moment with regards to streaming content. If I could, per week, divvy up the hours I'd streamed, which, 3 by 7, 21 hours. Not a lot, really. Sometimes a little bit more than that if I go over.
Another round. On you. Nietzsche's sister fucked it all up. Angry face.
Angry face. Indeed she did. Kalga, hello.
I see you've brought guests.
You have brought guests. How was Rimming Sky? How'd you bloody go? How was it? How was your mod at Skyrim? How was punching the fuck out of everyone who couldn't die because they had essential status? Assholes. Minimum wage per hour would be a good start as a streamer to hit as a financial goal. How was it? You got a suplex! Fuck yes, did you get a clip? Please tell me you got a clip of the suplex. So for those who don't know, Calgar's a very good friend of mine, who we're going to be doing a cocktail stream very soon. At some point. We're going to figure out a weekend. Hello, Mr. Live Producer. Here we go. Let's watch this. We're listening to The Midnight at the moment, by the way, who is a synthwave band who are apparently totally cool with us playing their music. Alright, let's have a look. Let's have a look.
I was finally behind somebody, and then you had to be here to make it not the suplex! We did it!
As God is my witness, that woman is broken in half!
That's all I wanted! Said I was finally behind.
Fantastic. Well done. Oh, goodness. You want to support smaller streamers to achieve minimum wage? What is minimum wage in Australia? Stop the match. What is Australian minimum wage? I really need a better fucking, what's it called? Better desk. Let's go back to lo-fi for a bit. Anyway, 1984 per hour. This is literally like George Orwell's 1984 per hour. Hey OC, how you doing, dude? What's going on? 1984 per hour is the federal minimum wage for Australia. There you go. So if I were to be streaming 38 hours a week, I should be, the idea would be making $753.80 per week. That'd be a fair amount to bring in as a streamer, honestly. It's a far off thing, but you need to work hard at it. Trans liberation now. US minimum wage is $7.25. Yeah, I know, and that's the awful thing, and certain jobs can actually get away with paying you less if you are involved in a tipping culture workplace, which is fucked. Tipping culture is fucked. We were going to talk about J.K. Rowling. Thank you so kindly again, Calgar, and everyone for stopping by with the raid. 9:45. Oh my.
On you.
Christ on a cock. That's $50 worth of bits. I like. Thank you? How do I respond? Goodness gracious me! This is ridiculous. Thank you so kindly. Where was that in the hype train? Oh, work hard, you'll get to be where you want. I hope so. My goal is partner. Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's clear the air really quickly. Let's just go straight to, I want to hit 75 average viewers this year to clear the partner goal requirements. And I want to go beyond that, obviously. That's just the baseline goal for this year. Am I going to hit it? Who knows? I personally think I have the capacity to reach that level. A lot of people have told me I'm entertaining enough to reach that level. And that's just made me incredibly arrogant and prideful, which is all I need in life, is the capacity to be a narcissist. And if I'm making enough income that I can cover minimum wage streaming, and then I can just flip my mother off whenever she says, oh, you need to get a real job in the industries that give you more money so you're not worried about money all the time. That's what I want to do. To just be able to say, fuck you, mum. I make money being live on the internet. And no, not in that way. Nothing against sex workers or anything. It's just like, you know, I've been told by a number of female streamers, they think it's really awkward to explain to their family and friends, oh, I stream. I get money from streaming. And they have to explain, not that kind of streaming. Yes, Yara, why are you this awesome?
Welcome to the Rogue Room.
Oh my goodness. Hello, Ronan. How you doing? Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us. Doesn't mention it's 34 per hours when you get to work. Rain is an affliction to your job, so you only get the money if you're there at a certain time. DGV817, welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down, grab a drink, and chill out with us, friend. Sex worker rights when? Should I do a sex worker stream? I mean, I don't know that much about it. But there is a lot there to unpack about the sex worker thing. There's a lot of discourse around sex worker rights. Because they are treated very, very poorly in society for a myriad reasons. Because it's a method of control, you know, criminalizing sex work and all of that is specifically a method of control. There is a lot more liberation going on in that field at the moment. but it's still never enough when people are continually still subjected to the more horrific side of things. Prostitution illegal? Film it? Okay, yeah. I suppose the difference is, you know, they're being paid, generally speaking, by someone above. Like, the actors are being paid by someone above them, but I suppose there is porn where it's very clear the guy in the scenario is the one paying for the whole thing. Similar to the JK thing, the sex worker rights issue is masked by concern. It is. Absolutely is. Filming porn has a lot of regulation within it. Generally speaking, yes, there are issues, but there's a lot of regulation in the sex work industry. Yeah, you can't simply turn a camera on. Should we go back to the JK thing to wrap up the stream? Because we didn't actually get around to reading this article by Joshua Yell, how Harry Potter fans are coping with JK Rowling. Should we jump into this? We already watched a bit of the JK Rowling video by the ever lovely Natalie Wynn. Not that one, dickhead. I haven't done a Be Right Back tonight, I just realized. I haven't taken a single break tonight. I don't care. We're doing good. We're doing good. So, by now I'm sure you're well aware of this. I don't have any water. Oh, yes I do. Never mind. I have got water, don't worry. I have got hydration here in this bottle, but I'm not going to be drinking it out of the bottle anymore. I'll do that at the gym, but I'm drinking out of a glass from now on. It's just easier. 2 hours, 47 minutes, and 51 seconds. Have I at least hydrated? A bit. A bit, yes. You know, we don't even need the uptime thing anymore. Twitch has got their own stream uptime thing down here. You can see it. How do I? There. It should be like down there somewhere. You can actually already see it. 23 p.m. 23:37, 58 p.m. Okay, so. Since J.K. Rowling's first Harry Potter book was published in 1997, the series has sold more than 500 million copies, and its movie adaptations have earned more than $9 billion at the box office. Holy cunting fuck. Making it one of the largest media franchises of all time. And from that success grew a massive, passionate fan base across the world. Go to sleep. Have a good one, Calgar. Thank you so kindly for the raid. Appreciate you being here. Get some rest. Get some heckin' rest. A story about a boy wizard attending a magic school and battling the forces of evil proved to be an inspirational tale of friendship, perseverance, and hope. Its impact can't be understated. Everything from reading groups to fan websites to collegiate Quidditch leagues. Not gonna lie, when I was mildly interested in the franchise, the real-life Quidditch thing looked fucking cool and I wanted to play it. Okay? Not gonna lie. Actually kinda looks fun. Popped up within a few short years, but that fan community is now confronted with a perilous challenge the likes of which even Harry, Ron, and Hermione would be hard-pressed to face. Rowling has become a major voice of anti-trans rhetoric. I mean, that's a bit of a stretch. It's a perilous challenge the likes of which even Harry, Ron, and Hermione would be hard-pressed to face. Transphobia. As opposed to, you know, literal wizard Nazis, but okay. You know, I mean, yes, it's in the same vein. Transphobia is fascistic by its very definition. Transphobia is genocide. But that's not the point. It's a bit of I raise issue whenever, and I know we're talking about a massive media franchise, but the analogies is just, I hate it. I hate when people make a reference, like Tim Pool made a reference a little while back about how Thanos was this kind of philosophical political ideology and Captain America was this, and I forget what exactly he said. It was so dumb. It's like, shut up, you bald fuck. Stop making analogies to multimedia. Weird. Can't just pew pew transphobia. You tried to work with... spat on the microphone, dude. Trying to work with what they have. I'll wipe that off. I gotta stop being so aggressive. You hate about the last two is they once just became like, yeah. They once just became Star Wars blasters, they did. They didn't resolve that very well, did they? With hints of Rowling's anti-trans views, while hints of Rowling's anti-trans views have been popping up for years. The author made headlines in December 2019 when she was criticized for supporting anti-trans researcher Maya Forstater on social media, and then again in June 2020 when she faced public backlash for going on transphobic rants on Twitter and publishing an essay full of harmful statements and unsubstantiated claims about trans people that have since been debunked by experts. Rowling's series of anti-trans statements have seen her labeled as a TERF, otherwise known as a trans-exclusionary radical feminist. That's, aside from the radical feminist part, that can be considered arguable, what people consider radical feminists. But whenever somebody says that they consider TERF a slur, or cis a slur, for example, TERF is, by its very definition, a factual assessment of the situation. They are trans-exclusionary people, and generally speaking, they have radically feminist-leaning viewpoints. So whenever they say it's a slur, it's like, no, we're describing you. We're just literally describing what you are. Because you are using your rhetoric to attack... Fucking goddamn it, sorry. Keep hitting the mic. Anyway, it's been a very excitable evening. I'm like, full of energy. The term is used to describe a small but vocal group of people who consider themselves to be feminists despite refusing to acknowledge that trans women are women or trans men are men, not supporting the validity of non-binary identities, excluding trans people from gendered spaces, and opposing legislation benefiting transgender rights. It's no more a slur than if we call Abby an Aussie.
On you.
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling is a slur.
Yes. Fucking J.K. Rowling, there's too many of them. It's no more a slur. Yeah, if you were to call me an Aussie, I'd be like, yeah, that's an accurate assessment. Don't they sometimes call themselves TERFs? I prefer if they call themselves farts, feminism appropriating radical transphobes, reactionary transphobes. You fucking Rowling. Have they called themselves TERFs? I've usually seen TERFs refer to it as a slur, like they don't like it. I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out if that's what they if they actually asserted themselves in that way. They call themselves gender critical, which is a misnomer because all feminism is critical of gender. You know, it's stupid. It's a non-descriptor. With the growing trajectory of Rowling's influence in the sphere of social politics over her previous association as an inventor of fantastical worlds, Harry Potter fans around the world who support trans rights have questioned what to do when they've spent so much of their lives deeply engaged in her content. Can they still be Harry Potter fans despite Rowling's transphobic views? Throw out your books, throw out your merchandise, and completely cast every thought towards Harry Potter aside. There's other multimedia out there that you can get invested in that doesn't support somebody who wishes for the eradication of transgender people. There you go. Call themselves normal concerned women who are worried about kids and fellow women. That's true, yeah. They pretend that they've got a really big moral standing. The thing that really gets me is they're worried about, and we mentioned this before, they're worried about a straw man. They're concerned about an idea that doesn't exist. They've conjured up this idea in their head that there's all these trans women, these big bull seals barging into women's restrooms and raping all of the women. And it's like, you have no statistics, you have no evidence to back up any of these ideas because they don't exist. This isn't a thing that actually happens. It's a straw man, like I said, it's made up. Big bull seal. On that point, all your known words for trans people were from manga or hentai, so others told you not to insult me, like, oh, you didn't know that was an insult. Yeah, that's an unfortunate circumstance of the media we consume, realistically speaking. Daniel Radcliffe openly disagreed. I think Rupert Grint and Emma Watson also publicly disagreed with her, and the actress who played the weird chick, the really quirky girl. I'm pretty sure. Did she say something? I feel like she said something. But inversely, the actor who played Hagrid agreed with her and supported her and said, you should stop. The internet should stop bullying this fucking billionaire who has millions of Twitter followers, has a huge following, one of the biggest followings on the planet. Oh yeah, we, disenfranchised minority and our allies, should stop bullying the billionaire. We're hurting her feelings, guys. If your issue with trans people is men pretending to be trans to assault women, then your issue is with men, not trans people. Exactly. Men are not trans women. Contra talked about in a video about Rowling, all forms of systemic oppression involve the dominant group self-victimizing and seeing the minority group as a threat. This is what we were discussing about white supremacy and racism and all of that kind of stuff. What did I just press? I just pressed the clipping button on my stream deck. We've got a clip of whatever that was. Yeah, it's true. That's how it works is they absolutely feel the need to project that victimhood. They are not the victims of anything. They're not being subjected to any of the harassment that trans people are routinely subjected to. There are transgender women in the UK and the US who are packing pepper spray and 9mm pistols in their purses in case they suspect someone is transgender and feel the need to defend themselves, to protect women's spaces. And then you've got that psycho GOP person who was enforcing the same ideas. It's like, if you've got, men, men who are armed go into women's restrooms with your wives and your sisters and all that. If you happen to be armed and you see one of them dirty trannies in there unload an entire magazine into their sternum, like, it's really fucking concerning. These people desperately want to be the victim of something, and thus they justify their victimization of someone else. Fucking terrifying. This is why I struggle with public restrooms so much. I cannot go in a public restroom without someone accompanying me. And yeah, Rupert Grint driving around an ice cream truck to give out free ice cream. What a fucking legend. It's always an imaginary threat. Highly offended and billionaire, your wealth is love. The value lost count after 3 years. Now is the 12. Nice. Okay, so some of these fans are looking for reassurance that Rowling is in the wrong, may take comfort in knowing many public figures who have helped shape the franchise have spoken out against Rowling's transphobic views in support of transgender people, as we've mentioned already. Harry Potter movie actors Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint have all taken a stand against Rowling's comments. Transgender women are women. Any statement to the contrary erases the identity and dignity of transgender people and goes against all advice given by professional healthcare associations who have far more expertise on this subject matter than either Joe or I, Radcliffe wrote in a statement published on the TrevorProject.org, an organization that provides crisis intervention and suicide prevention services to LGBTQ+ youth. But all that doesn't erase the world Rowling has built, leaving many still grappling with what the future of their Harry Potter fandom looks like and whether the support of the franchise unintentionally equates to support of Rowling. This isn't the first time a fandom has struggled with the concept of whether art can ever truly be separated from artist. H.P. Lovecraft fans have got to contend with the author's racist attitudes. Again, he's dead. AJ Ilu Comics, why did that alert not pop off? Thank you. Welcome to the Rogue Room. Sit down and grab a drink and chill out with us. How you doing? Hey, Botany Creek, what's going on? Yeah, why didn't the alert pop off? That was weird. Yeah, the thing about H.P. Lovecraft is you can enjoy H.P. Lovecraft's work and not feel any guilt of it because, yeah, he had racist attitudes, but he's dead. You can't support a dead artist. You can't keep funneling his racist attitude viewpoints. Also, for the record, he died a very poor man to begin with. He never had any sort of wealth from his writings. He only came to prominence after his death, in terms of his literature. Ender's Game fans, the homophobic views of Orson Scott Card. As far as I'm aware, Orson Scott Card is largely associated with those homophobic views now, and a lot of people completely dismiss him as a result. And so on, but given the sheer magnitude of Harry Potter's impact across pop culture, this instance is perhaps one of the most significant. It really is. This is really the most significant instance of this kind of thing. And RIP Sophie, yes, absolutely, rip Sophie. Donated to the Trevor Foundation last year. Someone you followed at a big fundraiser event for them. I might have to consider that. I want to do a fundraising stream this year. I don't know when. I want to do a charity stream for something. A queer charity or a autistic charity. Or maybe something that deals with public housing. Something that can help get homeless people off the streets. Like, there's a few ideas. Things that I generally talk about. I do want to talk about environmental stuff sometime soon on stream as well, but I need to do a bit more research. What it means to be trans. The word trans is an umbrella term that people often use to describe themselves when the gender they identify with doesn't match the biological sex they were assigned at birth. Some people may choose to identify as binary trans men or women, bingo, whereas others may opt for non-binary, gender fluid, agender, or whatever identity best reflects their personal experience. Trans people may choose to transition by changing their appearance, adopting new pronouns, or using medical assistance. There's a link to hrc.org. What about all the new Harry Potter stuff? There are charities for trans people struggling with homelessness or food scarcity. There you go. There's an idea. Leaving behind Rowling's franchise and boycotting official Harry Potter products may sound simple for some fans because they've already purchased all the books, movies, merchandise they're ever going to need. That may be true for a time, but Warner Bros. Is still producing new content for the franchise, including a third Fantastic Beasts film, a potential Harry Potter TV series, which was only just announced, and ContraPoints released her video on J.K. Rowling, literally in coincidence with the announcement of that series. Like, her timing is impeccable. The upcoming video game Hogwarts Legacy. So how should a conscientious objector deal with all this new content, especially when it's so tempting? Pick a different franchise. On September 16, just a few months after Rowling faced public backlash for her anti-trans essay, WB Games announced a Hogwarts Legacy role-playing video game set in the world of Harry Potter during the 1800s. The announcement left Harry Potter fans asking themselves whether it would be possible to oppose Rowling's views yet find a way to enjoy the game. This is the question I want to ask you, folks. Do you think the backlash to J.K. Rowling's transphobic viewpoints has been significant enough that it's going to massively affect the Hogwarts Legacy game? Do you think there has been a significant enough social impact by her views that people are going to not go out and buy this game and boycott it at a huge level? What is the likelihood, you think, of that happening? Oh, goodness me. They dropped Johnny Depp and replaced him with Mads Mikkelsen, if I'm not mistaken. The character's going to still be there. How do you deal with Rowling putting out new HP stuff for you to buy? Pretend those new things don't exist. Nothing exists post the last time you spent money on the franchise. Exactly. It's really that simple. Would love to see them put positive representation of a trans character in the game. They might. They very well may do that. And, of course, WB did put out a statement saying it's like, we don't condone J.K. Rowling's views, but there's still the fact of the matter that she is getting paid for the fact that the game is being made in the first place. So that says nothing. Realistically speaking, that says nothing when they say, oh, well, we don't support her transphobic viewpoints, but you're still paying her for the licensing. So, the terms of the licensing agreement made between Rowling and WB Games for Hogwarts Legacy has not been made public, but according to a Forbes report in 2017, it's estimated she earns $95 million per year for use of the IP. She retains a lot of creative control over all HP works, so assume she could veto a trans character. Oh my god, do you reckon she would? I get the suspicion, like they did mention, WB Games did mention, if I'm not mistaken, that the license has been given to WB Games and they have all full creative control of the actual franchise of Hogwarts Legacy. Like, she doesn't actually have any creative input, so to speak, but there are obviously certain canonical things they cannot breach in the grand scheme of things. But it does seem to be the case that she's not going to have any direct influence on the game. She's not going to be in the studio dictating where the story goes or what game elements are involved. Does it have a sledding minigame? It'd be amazing if they put like 5 trans characters in the game. This knowledge has some fans searching for a workaround. Potential solutions include delaying a purchase of Hogwarts Legacy so those all-important first-week sales numbers take a hit, waiting to buy it used, or purchasing a copy and then making a donation of equal value to a charity benefiting trans people, or just pirate it. However, each solution comes with its own caveats. A delayed purchase is still a purchase, and while donating to a pro-trans charity certainly benefits that community, it still doesn't stop part of the money spent on the game from making its way to Rowling. Exactly. Just donate the money to the charity and ignore the game. Even when setting dollar signs aside, fans may find themselves struggling with how to engage with Hogwarts Legacy in their personal space. People sharing screenshots and anecdotes about a new game is a common sight on social media, but given how fans are facing a crisis of conscience about Rowling, it may leave Harry Potter fans feeling guilty about playing it. This is how I felt about Cyberpunk. I spent months railing against Cyberpunk 2077, against the horrendous workplace practices and the just generally awful situation with that entire game, the fact that it was blatantly pushed out the door, completely unfinished and all that. And what did I see on my social media? Immediately as soon as the game is out, constant pictures and videos by all people who would have known everything that was wrong with the game. This was big news. Cyberpunk 2077's issue was, everywhere. That you couldn't avoid the news of how bad this game was, how problematic the entire development process was. And yet so many people were just like casting that aside because they wanted to play the fun Cyberpunk game that just came out, that they've been so excited for so long. People are really, really flimsy when it comes to their viewpoints on things. And their integrity. We talked about integrity a little while back, actually. Anyways. I don't think I have it in me to read this entire thing. Because it goes on. I didn't realize how long it goes for. I might have to... It's like it's late. I'm going to leave this with you, folks. If you want to read it, read it. If you don't, don't. We could probably come back to that soon. I don't know what tomorrow's stream is going to be about. I haven't decided yet. But for right now, I'm looking at like who is live that we could raid. So, thank you everybody for hanging out. It's been a joy to have you. It's been a joy and a delight to have you here. The fucking level 5 hype train at 143% was ludicrous. Absolutely off its chisel. I need food. I want food. It's late though. I shouldn't eat at midnight. It's a bad idea. Whomst canst we go to? That we haven't raided recently. Whomstediv. See ya, shall we? How you doing, by the way? Bottom 60% of news article has like 1/5 of the value of the first 40%. What? Oh, like the... I get what you mean. Duck plague. What are they doing? Have a gander. His donate button goes to an autism awareness group. That's pretty cool. He's playing Red Dead 2. Green for charity, autism awareness, mental health and positivity. We can do that. I need to pee like a motherfucker. Can I go and pee first? Can I get you folks to just sit here and wait while I go to the bathroom? I want to be here for the raid. I don't want to have to take off the moment the raid hits. So just like stay there, listen to the music for a second. Hello. I hath returned. Oh, that's so much better. Holy heck. My goodness. It's like I was out in public and couldn't use a public restroom for 3 hours. And I finally get to one. Finally get home. Like, holy shit. I usually take a break halfway through my streams. I don't know why I didn't today. I don't know what occurred to me or didn't occur to me. But anywho, at any rate, trans-liberation soonish, with any luck. Alright, let's go and raid Duck Plague, who is playing Red Dead 2. and has a donate button that goes directly to an autism charity. Thank you everybody for hanging out. If you would like to, please join us tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, which is... it looks like this. Also, I do have a schedule. I have the schedule thing on my channel. I need to update that because I've been streaming every night at 9 p.m. lately. So I'm going to update that so it says 9 p.m. AEDT. Stop punching the microphone, Abigail, you dumb bitch. Why do I do that? Here are the socials. So we're going to do it in capitals, apparently. Please subscribe to my YouTube channels. There's 2 of those. Actually, I'll put up 2 of those. And stay tuned to my main YouTube channel, Rogue Bitch, because there will be a further video essay this month. I promise you. I'm gonna get it done. I'm cramming on it. I promise I'm cramming on it. And also, jump in the Discord if you've not already. And in particular, follow me on Twitter. I will see you guys when I'm looking at you. No, not guys, folks. I will see you, folks. Gender neutral terminology. Right, we're being nice around here. One of my big goals for streaming, honestly, in the not too distant future is to get a really nice, crisp microphone. Because the Blue Snowball, while it's nice, not the best. I'll see you when I'm looking at you.